Wezolo Sanazua Ayiko. We're grateful that you've taken the time to join us today on Independence Day. It is Ghana month, and today we celebrate Independence Day. Happy Independence Day to you, and maybe to our Nigerian brothers and sisters in the country. Okabo, welcome to the AM show. My name is Benjamin Akakpo, and it's a pleasure to welcome you aboard. Shortly, we'll be serving you the news, but right after that, guess what? We have the news review, and Samuel Bing of the Parliamentary Network Africa joins us for that. Now, today we've got Prime Take, and Joy Sports' Nathaniel Atto speaks to, you guessed it, the dribbling magician, Mohamed Polo. We have that coming your way this morning. It's going to be tons of fun. But after that, we get into our big stories, and today marks Ghana's 66th year of independence. We'll have a lot to say about that. Well, this time the event is to be marked in Ho, the Volta regional capital. But what do we have to cheer about 66 years on in terms of breaking free from British colonial rule? We look back, we reflect on how far we have come, we look at the misses and the gains. Our guest joining us this morning, Dr. Nana SKB Asante. Who else, if you want to take a trip down memory lane, who is better than Dr. SKB Asante? We have him lined up. We also have Kweku Dako Ankra, a historian with the Department of African Studies at the University of Ghana, Legon. Dr. Archibald Lecha is Volta Regional Minister. He joins us for a conversation as well. We'll also be checking with our correspondents in the Volta region on how things are shaping up for the Independence Day celebration. We'll equally get updates from our Northeast Regional correspondent, where Mamprugu Chiefs say they will boycott the day's celebrations. Find out why they are saying that. Also today on Citizens Microphone, we hit the streets of Kumasi and we're asking, what do you have to cheer about 66 years on after independence? Are you a proud Ghanaian? What makes you proud? And if not, what are the takeaways? What are the lessons we can learn for the future? As always, we give you another installment of Drive Safe, today being a Monday, holiday or not, because your safety is very much our concern, and our Drive Safe campaign is still large and in charge. As always, we'd also offer you the opportunity of joining us with your thoughts on the issues we're going to be discussing on the show this morning, especially that reflection, that introspection, that dissection of Ghana, how far we've come and how far we have to go. My name is Benjamin Akakpo. Stay tuned. Up next, the news. Thank you for staying with us for the news. And in our first story, 22 persons, including 4 women, 1 child, and 17 men, have been confirmed dead in a gory accident between Kintampo and Babotokuma last night. 21 people died on the spot, and the other one is at the hospital. The Yendi Kumasi bound bus with registration number AS4635-22 with 52 passengers on board crashed by the side with a trailer truck with registration number GW1127P carrying tiles. Now, though it is unclear what really happened, it appears the truck driver tried to swerve a stationary truck and in the process entered the other lane, which resulted in a near collision with a bus. The dead are now deposited. The bodies have been deposited at the Kintampo Government Hospital morgue, while the surviving victims are receiving treatment at the Kintampo Hospital. We'll give you more details of that in subsequent bulletins. But now all is set for Ghana's 66th independence anniversary celebration, which is scheduled to be held in the Volta regional capital of Ho and Adaklu. The organizing committee has put in immense work to make the venue for the independence anniversary parade, the Volta Regional Youth Resource Center in Adaklu, ready for the event on Monday. There is more in the following report put together by Fred Kwame Asari, which highlights preparation work and the economic impact of the anniversary celebration.
The Volta region, one of the 16 administrative regions of Ghana, occupies a land area of 9,504 kilometers square. The Volta region is connected to the national capital, Accra, with 2 bridges across the Volta Lake, the Sugakope and Adomi bridges. It is mostly occupied by Ewes, who constitute the majority of the over 6,500,000 people living in the region. Residents survive on trading, farming, fishing, artisanal works and commercial transport business, while others get their livelihood from working in the private and public sectors. The region is blessed with numerous tourist sites, which include the Afajatu, Adakulu Mountain, Mount Gemi, Tafi Atume Monkey Sanctuary, Pili Waterfalls, Tagbo Falls, Amajope Canopy Walkway, the Liati Water Snake Village, among others. It is also home to several remnants of the colonial era. A senior citizen, Tenasu Kufik Bedema, explained how the Volta region became part of Ghana.
But then eventually, 1955-56, the plebiscite was held under the United Nations. And I remember we were singing Eduardo Yepieto, who was the one who came to organize the plebiscite. The plebiscite was whether Transvolta region, Transvolta Togoland, as it was then, should merge with the Gold Coast to become independent, or whether they should either be on their own or join the French Togoland. So the plebiscite went, and by dint of hard work between Nkrumah, Agbeli Bedema was Nkrumah's strong man in the area then. And in fact, they used Agbeli as a bait to bring the Volta region of Volta, Transvolta Togoland into Ghana. That was done, and by the plebiscite, Transvolta region decided to merge with the Gold Coast and become independent Ghana.
66 years on, the Volta regional capital, Ho, was selected to host the National Independence Anniversary celebrations. It is the 4th region to host the anniversary when the government decided to rotate the national celebrations nationwide. Following the announcement, preparations have been ongoing to deliver a successful event and the best experience for revelers. Wulcado Construction Limited speed up works on the Regional Youth Resource Center to make the facility ready to host the Independence Day Parade. The Accra to Ho, Aplau to Ho, Adaklu to Ho, and other township roads were provided facelifts where bad sections were rehabilitated. About 2,500 street lights were fixed in the regional capital Ho and Adaklu to enhance security at night. The Ho MCE, Divine Borsen, who is a member of the local planning committee, said the venue is ready to host the anniversary parade.
I want to tell you, it's very ready, and it's ready. With all these things, we should be celebrating my government, our president, your president, my president, for the good show. After all, if 6 March will come tomorrow again, I will wish to have it again because of the short time and the benefit I derived from this anniversary celebration.
The whole airport was also rehabilitated since some guests would be flying to the Volta region after arriving at the national capital, Accra. The entire city of Ho has been designed in the national colors, with the flags of political parties also fighting for space. Residents are positioned to reap the economic benefits that would come with the anniversary celebrations.
Okay, independence mile mokobe amei yole vavage ava plenu egava totrecha vanami ne amoko gavela mi agakanga ko fe tepe gbagba videwe e ndesiare mi le gbedoro be ndesiare che adodo nyuere le dukome.
Okay, so far the display and everything has been very amazing, you know, seeing the people coming into Ho. And Ho is a very nice place, you know. It's a center of culture and tourism. So we are actually expecting a huge crowd, you know, to help make this event a memorable one.
The tourism industry is expected to benefit from the National 66th Independence Anniversary celebrations in Ho. Major hotels such as Freedom Hotel, Volta Serene, Chances, Sky Plus, African Hill Resort, among others, have been booked to host the dignitaries. Eateries and pub owners have provided some facelift to their centers and introduced new services. Alexander Nketia is the Volta Regional Director of the Ghana Tourism Authority.
a whole impact on the entire industry. Now let's look at events are tourism. That's what we call it in tourism. We call it MICE. Under MICE, we have the meetings, incentives, conference, and then events. And this part of that aspect of tourism, which brings in people to witness special occasions, okay, participate in special occasions such as these. And when visitors come in, they are coming in with money to come and spend within the local community, and therefore there's more or less like redistribution of income or revenue or money into the local economy. So that is what we are hoping that people will take advantage of and benefit from. Yes.
About 10,000 people are expected to fill the Volta Regional Youth Resource Center in Adaklu for the Independence Anniversary Parade. Businesses have already set up in the environs, ready to leverage the anniversary celebrations to cash in. Fred Kwame Asari, JoyNews, Adaklu.
Meanwhile, former President John Dramani Mahama is questioning the need for the celebration of Independence Day at a time when Ghana is battling the shortage of vaccines for the immunization of children. Mr. Mahama has become the latest to raise the concern as other prominent persons, including former Chief Justice Sophia Kufu, have in the past few days questioned the need for this year's celebration. He was speaking at the 5th anniversary dinner and awards night of the NDC's Professional Forum in Accra on Sunday night.
Why should I be celebrating Independence Day? And as Nana said, today if you are a mother and you take your child to the hospital for vaccine, 3 vaccines are shot. First time since the 4th Republic. So what are we celebrating independence when our children cannot get vaccines? My maternal sibling suffered from polio. He was crippled by polio. And so I know what polio is. And we've gained strength in the fight against polio. Fewer children are getting crippled by polio. Today our children cannot get polio vaccines, cannot get measles vaccines. And as long as we don't get it, the diseases are going to begin to spread again. And you're going to celebrate 66 years of independence. You celebrate it. I'm not going to be part of it. Independence is a solemn national celebration. We should celebrate it at the Independence Square. And everybody wanted to come. Today they bust their supporters in. They have party flags. They are wearing party t-shirts. I don't want to be part of a party jamboree. Nkrumah got us independence. I'm an Nkrumahist. I will attend an Independence Day any day if it's not hijacked by one party, because it should be a national day for all of us. So I'm not going to be in Hood because I don't want to be part of an MPP jamboree. You watch what will happen. They'll bust their people in and occupy.
But some residents of the Volta region have lauded the government for deciding to host the 66th Independence Anniversary celebrations in the region. They acknowledged the economic, social, and developmental impact of the event and hoped the region would benefit from it.
The Volta Regional Youth Resource Center in Adaklu, which was put in shape within the last 2 months to host the Independence Anniversary Parade, has already become a tourist site. Ahead of the event, residents thronged the center on Sunday evening to have a view of it and pose for pictures. Some people have already dressed to suit the occasion.
So I heard that they are coming to do the Independence Day. Yeah, and I said so far as they do it once in a while, so let me just dress and look nice more.
Oh yeah, I'm impressed because 2 months ago it was a forest, but today it's look better, far better. Even I was not thinking it to be like this, so I'm impressed. But only the seat like that will be in the standard sort my problem now.
Some residents who spoke to JoyNews lauded the economic and social benefits of hosting the 66th Independence Anniversary in the region.
Yeah, I think it's a privilege to host this anniversary, and I'm happy with the fact that His Excellency the President has brought this idea, this rotation idea, to make other regions explore different regions. So we are happy to have everybody here. Volta region welcomes everybody. Let's come tomorrow to celebrate the anniversary. Thank you.
It's a very good opportunity, one, to enlighten the region, to boost our economy in the region too. So to me alone is very, very great opportunity for us, and we welcome you with our hearts.
This independence they've been brought here, it's of great importance, With this a lot of things are going about in the town. Constructions, road constructions, and look at this youth resource center that we have here too. And then business will boom as well. So this rotation, it's a great thing. At least it's not just a region that would enjoy the benefit, you know. So this will bring a lot of development, yes. So business booms, construction. Look at our roads. They've sealed almost all potholes on the roads. And the town is looking nice, so at least let's embrace it.
It's a very good opportunity, one, to enlighten the region, to boost our economy in the region too. So to me alone, is very, very great opportunity for us, and we welcome you with our hearts.
About 5,000 dignitaries are expected to attend the parade, with the president of Guinea-Bissau, Umaru Sissoko Embalo, being the special guest of honor. Fred Kwame Asari, JoyNews, Adaklu.
Let's talk health now. And neurosurgeons and the Pediatric Society of Ghana say they are gravely concerned about the shortage of vaccines for children across the country. Now, 2 crucial vaccines for babies have been unavailable at the Adabraka Polyclinic Vaccination Center for close to a month, leaving many babies without shots. Mothers who had come with their babies to be vaccinated were turned away to come later when the shots were available. Neurosurgeon Dr. Hadi Abdallah and head of pediatrics and child health, Tamale Teaching Hospital, Professor Al-Hassan Abdul Momin, have been responding to why their departments are concerned about the shortage of baby vaccines.
This shortage didn't just happen this month or a month ago. It's been more than 1 year since we started experiencing these shortages. So it means that for most of the children who were born during this period since 2022, they are likely to have missed so many of these vaccines that are very crucial to their survival during the first few years of life. And the situation is quite bad because, for instance, in the northern region, there is no district that has not recorded maybe an outbreak of measles. So all the 16 districts that we have in northern regions have had cases of measles. If it's just the fever and the rash, generally we are able to manage them as home cases. So you can send them home and then they will be managed at home. But if they develop complications like the breathing problems, then they need to be in the hospital. And this is the key complication that can lead to deaths in children that have measles. And that is why this is a very big problem for all of us as a country.
The long-term effect of some of these infections, especially measles and rubella, could have an impact on the babies that will be born later on, because some of these conditions eventually could affect the development of the child's brain or the central nervous system, and in some cases the peripheral nervous system as well. So these children could be born with all kinds of brain abnormalities, and we know what pertains in northern Nigeria and some Islamic countries where we've had some Muslim clerics advising against vaccination, and we know polio is still not has not been eradicated in those countries, and we've seen the impact in those countries. In their case, they didn't want to do it, but in our case, we have Ghanaians who are willing to have their babies vaccinated. And so as a country, if we can't get the vaccines, it's unfortunate.
Now, there was frustration at the Lejokuku Krowo Municipal Assembly Hospital as the online-based patient management system went down for hours on Sunday. Care for patients was truncated, leaving patients to endure their ailments. Some patients we spoke to said they had been waiting in line for 7 hours. My colleague Michael Ashali has the rest of the story.
A dysfunctional IT system at the Lekma Hospital has left many families frustrated. Many of them have come here with mild to critical issues that needs urgent attention. However, some of them have been sitting without being attended to for nearly 12 hours.
Yvonne Quintin Kofe is my name. I brought my daughter to Lekma Hospital as early as 8:30. We were not attended to. The excuses the nurses were giving us was that the system is not functioning. The system is not working. We're just sitting for hours and hours and hours. I got attended to at 2:15. Since morning, I got attended to at 2:15. This is horrible. I can't accept this.
So what exactly did you bring to the hospital? You brought your daughter, but for what reason?
She's been complaining of stomach problems. So since I'm not a doctor, the best place I could send her to was the hospital for the doctors to diagnose exactly what was wrong with her. And I've been waiting since 8:30. I got attended to at 2:15 and I'm mad.
6 from morning that I'm here to take tetanus. Nail took my foot under, and I was here 6 from morning, 5:30 a.m. They take my BP, my wherever. I joined the queue from 8:30. That doctor will look for me so that he inject me. 6 from morning. They say system. I'm not understand why system have to kill woman being. I'm not understand, because if I go to private hospital, if I have money and I go to private hospital, but this time I'm at home. But I don't know why I have to come to a general hospital, the government hospital, and that one rather system have to kill me. I don't know. I'm not understand.
But you have to endure pain, right?
Yeah, I'm still in pain. Look at the foot. Look at the foot. The way it's swallowed. Look at it. So I don't know. I don't know why. Why? Me, I don't know unless they told us what is happening. I mean, I don't know what is happening.
My name is Erika Yodonko, assemblyman for Suchuruno. And I was at church this morning around 11:30. My brother called me that he was here at the Lekma Hospital 5 a.m. and he did not attend to. Why? Because the system is not working. Oh. So I was there, as he called me, I said, okay, wait, I'm coming. After 1, I came. Yes, sir. We were sitting down, the system is not working. What I'm pleading for is the authorities should see to it that if we are going by electronic system, then they should have a backup team so that whenever there's an issue, they resolve it in a nearest time so that it not cause any problem.
The hospital management has declined to speak officially on this issue. However, they say that they are working around the clock to make sure that this is a thing of the past. For JoyNews, Michael Ashali.
Now, Deputy Attorney General and Minister of Justice Diana Asonaba says any views on access to legal education that overlooks quality misses the mark. She argued that there ought not to be access to legal education by the mere act of opening up more law schools or law faculties. But whatever solution agreed on us as a country must ensure quality legal education. Diana Asonaba made the statement at the launch of the Simon Diedong Dombo University of Business and Integrated Development Studies Law School in Wa. JoyNews Upper West Regional Correspondent Rafiq Salam has more.
Deputy Minister for Justice and Attorney General Diana Asonaba Dapa opined that the establishment of the Simon Diedong Dombo University of Business and Integrated Development Studies (SDDU-BITS) Law School provides a unique opportunity for the country to strategically make legal education to the northern Gulf of the country. The move, according to Diana Asonaba, will undoubtedly cater to the needs of the increasing demands for the required skills in the legal sector, given the clear concentration of lawyers in the southern belt of the country. The Deputy Attorney General and Minister for Justice then restoked the age-old advocacy to open up access to legal education. Though he is not against it, but will want quality education to be at the front burner.
Various solutions have been proffered, as I have indicated, but I have and I will always maintain that any view or proposition on open access to legal education that overlooks a common denominator misses the mark and fails to take a holistic appreciation of the problem. The common common denominator being that there ought not to be access to legal education by the mere act of opening up more law schools or law faculties. But whatever solution we agree on as a country must ensure quality legal education. And that is the common denominator, quality legal education. Pursuing access to legal education, I've also maintained, is not only the responsibility of the General Legal Council. It's a joint responsibility sitting not only on the head of the General Legal Council, but in fact on all of us, on our heads, whether as law students, whether as universities, whether as GTEC, which is the Ghana Tertiary Education Commission, and even the general public. It sits on all of us, our heads.
She stated that since the enactment of the Legal Profession Act in 1958, which became law 2 years later, resulting in the establishment of the General Legal Council, which clothed the latter with the responsibility to organize legal education as well as upholding standards of professional conduct. Diana Asonaba lamented that since the enactment of the Act 63 years ago, the Legal Profession Act has remained unchanged. She, however, has hope in the existence of a legal profession bill which seeks to amend and consolidate the law relating to the legal profession.
Society remains rapidly changing, especially in today's world of technological advancements, and laws, policies, and practices must be reviewed and revised where necessary in order to remain relevant in the face of these changes. But I'm happy to inform you that there now exists a legal profession bill which seeks to amend and consolidate the law relating to the legal profession. One of the primary aims of the bill, and please listen carefully, is to provide a legislative framework for recognizing and licensing universities to establish law faculties in order to sanitize the mass production of law graduates and ensure standardization in the monitoring of these institutions to see to their optimum performance.
Chairman of the Governing Council of SDD Yobits, Lawyer Kwekuya Pencil, pointed out to the matriculants about certain perceptions that the public has about lawyers, calling on them to live above reproach.
In addition to knowledge, the law or the study of the law can make you immensely proud and immensely arrogant. And an arrogant lawyer is a danger to society. A proud lawyer is a danger to himself. And whatever knowledge that you're going to get from this practice, I'd like you to understand that you owe yourself a duty to discharge to the best of your ability this honorable character that the society expects of us.
Vice Chancellor of SDD Yobits, Professor Philip Osoiduku, in a brief remark before matriculating the 105 students, expressed excitement over the establishment of the law school.
We have learned from those who are already well established in the field so that we can grow quickly and avoid the mistakes of others. Dear matriculants, you have come to the right place, the right law school, where all your learning needs will be met with a great client care tradition.
The Ghana Bar Association, led by East Upper Region Chapter Vice Chairman, Lawyer Saeed Abdul Shakur, expressed their unwavering support to ensure the success of the law school.
So the Ghana Bar Association want to assure this faculty of its support, and that we will be available 24/7 to ensure that this faculty is not a 9-day wonder. This is the first of its kind in the North, and we expect that if it is coming from Upper West, it must be the best.
Reporting for JoyNews, Rafik Salam. Wow.
And that's the note on which we cap off the news. Stay with us. The news review up next. No papers yet, but we still have a lot to talk about as a country. Stay. Welcome to the Independence Day holiday. And if you've not joined us thus far, well, a lovely, warm welcome to you on the AM show. My name is Benjamin Akakpo. You've missed quite a lot by way of the news, but do stay with us. Should we have the opportunity, we'll be joined by our guest for the news review. Now, as you can see, there are no papers this morning. All the newspapers are in hibernation. I think that explains why the Daily Graphic last week had their Independence Day segment, if you like, in the paper. But that being the same, I think it gives us even more time to reflect as Ghanaians, to do some proper introspection, to look at ourselves and see where we have been, where we are, and where we are going. And maybe even, in addition, where we can be. And I'm going to be blunt this morning, though it's not a Friday and I'm not delivering my blunt thoughts. If you were to wish me a happy Independence Day, I would probably ask you in reply, which independence? Which independence? Are we independent? I'm not saying there's nothing to celebrate. There's so much to celebrate. But 66 years on, and looking at how we started, we were better than the Malaysians. Even looking at India at the time, we had a hand on them in terms of where we were under Nkrumah. Look at the factories. Look at the silos. Look at the motorway. Look at the dam. Look at everything that was bequeathed to us and what we have made of them. So 66 years on, you could say, well, Nkrumah from the 50s as the leader of government business to becoming prime minister, how many years? Just about a decade in there. Take that out in terms of his output, some 56 plus years on. What does the picture look like for Ghana? And are we proud? I mean, we're Ghanaian. We cherish who we are. Ghana, land of the warrior king. But have we lived up to that expectation as the land of the warrior king? More like land of paupers. Aren't we going to the IMF to beg? Anyway, happy Independence Day to you. Let's start by looking at some of the online portals. We'll start with myjoyonline.com, and we'll take a look at some of the stories making that portal this morning. And one of those I was definitely going to be talking about this morning had to do with that story you're seeing there. Over 100 measles cases recorded in northern Ghana as baby vaccines shortage bites. You remember today when we were taking a look at the news, I spoke about LECMA, the LECMA hospital. Their systems were down. Another facility, similar issues. And, of course, this one, over 100 measles cases recorded in northern Ghana as babies vaccines shortage bites. Anyway, so let's take a look at that story very quickly. That story about 100 measles cases recorded in the northern region. Let's take a quick look at that story. So it says, let me just get into it. Over 100 children in the northern part of Ghana are suspected to have contracted measles. This is according to the president-elect for the Pediatric Society of Ghana, Dr. Hilda Mantibia Boy. And the figures come amid the shortage of baby vaccines nationwide. It's not just an Accra problem or a northern sector problem. It's nationwide, but with some suffering more than others. There are some who have not had vaccines for over 2 months. And of course, now there are others who have also not had vaccines for over a month. And the question is, how can this even be? Now, Ghana ran out of essential BCG and OPV vaccines as a result of the Ministry of Health's failure to secure procurement of these vaccines since the year began. And you can see there, nursing mothers at facilities unable to get vaccines for their children. It's even worse in the northern belt. As the other day I was speaking to the member of parliament for Tamale North, Al-Hassan Suini, and he made mention of the fact that, look, the vaccines are short, measles cases are on the rampage, and here we are. 66 years of independence. We're not even dependent when it comes to vaccine issues for the most vulnerable in the society, children. Dr. Afil Money is a former GJA president, and he joins me this morning. Dr. Money, a very good morning to you, sir. Thank you for joining the conversation.
Good morning, and even though today is supposed to be a day of joy,
I am struggling to hear you. I don't know what it is, but can you speak up a bit?
It's supposed to be a day of joy. Today is supposed to reignite nostalgic memories of our independence. 6 years ago, Kwame Nkrumah gave us independence.
Maybe we'll have to manage the volume here in the studio, because I am struggling, really struggling to hear.
Can you hear me now? Is it better now?
Yes, it's better now. It's better now.
I would think that today is supposed to be a day of joy.
Right.
It's nostalgic memory of independence 6 years ago, when Kwame Nkrumah laid the trail. And here we are on the day of our anniversary. We are hit by this heart-wrenching story, power-emptying story, that after, despite our inability to produce us, we have sentenced as many as 100 children or more to measles. I read a piece by Benjamin Akakpo, and I think that was quite a hard-hitting commentary of something type. Benjamin is usually not emotional, but he poured her heart out over the criminal negligence on the part of the state to procure enough vaccines to save a situation like this, and to ensure that our children go in dignity to contribute their bit to the upliftment of this nation. This is a story which could have caused, or which could still cause, the resignation of the Minister of Health. Everybody in that chain to bow their heads down in shame. But this is not enough. The federal authority and the presidency to take action quickly to put fear in people in positions of power who will take the nation for a ride, and also sentence precious souls to this kind of premature death. It is so sad. If I started to do my well, it is something we should never again to repeat. This act of dereliction, it is unthinkable. It's unthinkable. So sad.
You say it is unthinkable. You say it is so sad. But 66 years on, and just in the course of this year, just about some weeks back, I will keep going back to this, because a nation without health is a nation that is going to be bankrupt. If your human resource, the people in the country, cannot access proper health care, it is a problem. Look at the SDGs. How many of them are hinged on, the right drinking water, potable water, health, among others. But I just contemplate, just a few weeks ago, we were talking about, I think it was in Builsa North or Builsa South, a 92, 93-year-old hospital facility that serves the district that has been left to rot. In 1970, it had some sort of upliftment. In 1992, it saw something. Since that time, our leaders have neglected this facility. And 92, 93 years on, people who need health care have to go there in a facility that is literally in a shambles. The building is literally a death trap. Recently, a snake was found in the children's ward. I'm bringing this up, tying it into the vaccine situation, because it appears our leaders don't really think about children. A snake in a children's ward. No vaccines for children. Children schooling under trees. Children schooling in facilities without desks. Children learning on the floor and all of that. Again, you may not have been watching me when I said this. I said that if anyone said to me today, Happy Independence Day, I would ask them, what independence? We're back to the IMF, cup in hand, begging. We can't manage, the situation. This is exactly what Kwame Nkrumah was trying to avoid. He wanted to show that the black man is capable of managing his own affairs. That is what he said. Unfortunately, it appears. Your thoughts?
Power the whole power can get empty. The whole power, your own power can get empty. It's hard to think me, so range me. I think I will speak to start repetitive. And this is the case of substance. It's a direct reflection.
Dr. Moni, so this is what we're going to do. The challenge is that we can barely hear you. So if you could reposition yourself, we're going to try to call you back. We'll call you back so we can see whether we can have a better connection. Because for now, honestly, we want to have a good conversation about Ghana, but we can barely hear you. I don't know whether which part of the country you're in, and that would be another challenge. Access to quality connection wherever you are in the country. You go to certain rural areas and your network would probably go off or be so low that making calls, forget even connecting to the internet. And these are some of the challenges. Yet, you look at the cost we have to bear when it comes to purchasing credits, purchasing bundles, and all of that. Maybe we'll go on myjoyonline.com and get some more stories there. We've spoken about the vaccine issue, and if you've been affected directly, personally, your family, you can share your story with us on the back of the vaccines. But we also have there Council Independence Day use funds to solve babies' vaccine shortage. That is Dr. Anaba to government. And in recent times, I have also heard the Chief Justice, former Chief Justice Safai Akufo, take on that same matter in respect of what independence are you celebrating? Why expend all this money? That sum of money could be used to do something for these babies who do not have vaccines. Today we're going to blow money. And people are going to say, oh yeah, it's going to create some economic boost in Ho, in Adaklu. There's going to be this and that one day, and that's what they deserve, just one day, and that is it. How about the long-term effect if these children do not have vaccines and they end up with measles, polio, rubella, and all of that? Is that what we want to condemn them to? This morning I'm going to be hard because this country in many regards, in many aspects, simply doesn't make sense. Ghana. Afil Money, welcome back. If you can hear me now.
Thank you.
The connection is much better.
Your frustration and anger. But you have every right to pour your righteous anger. And many of those who will share your righteous anger, because as Sister says, one would have expected that they would have woken up from a slumber, deep slumber in so many areas of national development. And health is wealth. When it comes to health, is wealth. You cannot just put a price tag on health. And that will so deep neglect, criminal neglect of our health in our health sector. Meanwhile, if you go to the expenditure pattern, you see a lot of useless expenses and not areas which will create opportunity for people to feel, to reach. And as I said, we should not be looking on. Never do we repeat such acts of negligence, the releasing of peace. It's such acts of criminality. That is serious. That is more serious than even armed robbery. Serious. This is serious. So it should not end here. But But the righteous anger should be followed. We need to keep it up. Every section of the media, we need to amplify this anger to bring about the right response from officialdom to tackle, to deal technically. It's time to deal technically with this kind of criminality so that we will never repeat and thereby setting precious souls to premature death. So we share your anger, you have every right for them, and we expect other presenters to amplify this kind of anger so that as a nation, we keep remorse, backed by action, we will tackle frontally issues of national importance.
That brings me to my next question. You know, we've spoken a lot, especially in the media, the fourth estate. We've done, you know, the fourth arm of government, so to speak. We've done a lot in this regard, trying to get government on its toes. We do our research. We go and pursue those documentaries. We highlight both the positives and the negatives. A lot of the time, you are victimized. In another breath, sometimes you're simply ignored. What do? You do all the research, you put out the information, no action is taken. I mean, how many years have we been speaking about downsizing government, for example? That's something you're very familiar with. How many years have we spoken about that? Yeah, what has been done? Practically nothing. We have examples. We have what even the Constitution, the 1992 Constitution of Ghana says about the size of cabinet. We've exceeded that by about 7, 8, 9. From 19, we have about 28, if I'm not mistaken. Everything in this country says leadership is misleading and not willing to listen, to try and do things that will inure to the benefit of the people. Which is why I'm saying, if you told me today, Happy Independence Day, I would ask you, which independence? How independent are we? So the next bit is, what kasakra ombetie?
And that's my job. You know, this job is a cross we opted to carry as journalists. Mm-hmm. And our job is that once decide to do the job, and it's a calling. Our job is fundamentally different from other professionals, other professions, like medicine, like ours. No, calls for dedication. Once you are married to the job, there's no way until circumstances force you out. There's no way you're taken out. So this job is not for the chicken-hearted. This job is not for the easy-living. This job is not for timid, timorous souls. This job is for people like you, people like Samson, people like Manasseh, people like Anas. And the longer officialdom takes to respond our queries, the more hard and hard and hard. No, in the name of comprehensive journalism, it doesn't matter after doing one story, after doing one, we must not go back to sleep. We need to highlight even the more brought in every aspect of our national life. We need to hold to account. We want to hold the feet of the official to the fire of accountability. That's not our job. How long did it take one man to attain independence? He was so tenacious. He was unrelenting. He was at the point he was put in jail. But he was so focused. He could see the skill, the best, the indomitable courage which he fought for independence. This is what we should replicate at any point in time. So I understand your frustration, but the inaction of those who are supposed to act should never dampen your spirit. So the same advice goes to every journalist in this country. If the moment we we lower our guards, things will take a bad turn or worse turn, and the whole nation will suffer for it. So we have a responsibility imposed by heaven to ensure that we raise our voices, critical voices at all times. We praise when it is due. So why it's also criticizing also highlight the positive aspects of our development, the correct actions, the responses of officialdom, and so this is journalism. This is it is not like football after 90 to go and no, not at all. So our encourage, please never be disheartened. This is the time, especially when at 66, we are not at the level where we are supposed to be in terms of development. And at 66, we are also causing blunders which ought to have been avoided, blunders which inflate financial costs to the state, blunders which make mockery of our independence. So this is what we ought to do.
Dr. Mone, we're grateful for your time that you were able to join us this morning. Afeol Mone is former president of the GJA, the Ghana Journalists Association. Part of why we have to do this, though we've not rounded up for the review, is that the connection to him is not the best. It's not what we would have wanted. I know just as I cannot hear him properly, many of you out there cannot do same. So let's continue with some of the stories on myjoyonline.com for now, and then we shall proceed from there. There's also Professor Michael Quay's wife passes on, and that's a very sad incident. Our condolences to Prof and his family and the wider NPP family. We'll address arrears as part of external debt restructuring, government to IPPs, and there's also Jean Mensah not paying attention to details regarding guarantors. That's according to Mahama Ayariga. The rise of the Gen Z side hustle. You can read more about that, especially if you're in that generation. And then there's also Ghana Boundary Commission begins process to reaffirm boundary with Burkina Faso. That is also there. There's also Kunedu Yadom's header settles 2023 President's Cup between Hearts of Oak and Asante Kotoko. All of those stories on myjoyonline.com. Mahama's decision to contest gives hope and courage, Mr. Kwashi says so. And then late Christian Achu's 1 week celebration held. And we've seen a number of people donating Wakaso in there, making a donation, if memory serves, about $20,000 together with other drinks and very important things. When Thomas Partey scored over the weekend, he took off his shirt. I don't know whether he got penalized for that, but also all of them reflecting on Christian Achu. Kudus, just a few, I think it was sometime last week or the week before, also did same after netting. It's Achu, Christian Achu is not someone we're going to be able to forget. I'm just trying to see whether there's any one of the stories I would like to get into before we go to graphic online. Let's take a quick look at the one where the finance minister says they will address arrears as part of external debt restructuring, government to IPPs. You do know that we owe our independent power producers quite a lot of money. It's been an albatross around our necks, just as we're talking about the Ghana card and using it for electoral purposes, registration purposes. We also have that albatross around our neck, the $117 million we apparently owe to those who are going to facilitate the process for the NIA. But according to the story, government has assured the independent power producers that it is taking the necessary steps to address the energy sector arrears as part of its external debt restructuring. This is to forestall the buildup of future arrears and improve on efficiency within the sector. That is what we're being told. And this comes in a letter to the IPP signed by the Finance Minister, Ken Ofori-Atta, cited by Joy Business, and government said It had rolled out a raft of structural reforms aimed at generating sufficient cash to ensure payments in line with the respective power purchase agreements. I guess we can only latch on to hope, as we have seen with many of these promises that are made, especially when it comes from the finance ministry. I've been very open that I take whatever comes from that ministry now with a pinch of salt, because I've seen time without number. We'll do A, and yet we do D. So we just hope that what is being said will actually become reality. But let's go to Graphic Online now and check out some of the stories there. So we have the newspaper, actually. Let's start from there. Let's maintain our reputation. That's according to Vice President Dr. Mahamudu Bawumia. And I would have loved to read that story, because I would be wondering what reputation exactly he is speaking of. Especially when, and I put this question out there to all Ghanaians, young and old, what are the values that Ghanaians have? If someone were to come and say, Ghanaians, what are your values? What do you stand for? What do you represent? When you think Ghana, what should come to mind? Apart from gold, cocoa, and kente and all of that, what comes to mind? What would you say? Now I'm waiting for an answer. For those of you who can send through the live stream, what would you say? What do we stand for? What does the Ghanaian represent? Back under Nkrumah, we represented that Black Star of Africa. We have the Black Star line, a shipping line. Today, what can we boast of in that regard? We stood for African dignity, African power, African capacity, African capability, African ability. Today, what do we stand for? We say our waters have been muddied, murked up by Galamsey, and we can't even use our own scientists here. We have to go to Japan and get Japanese to come and teach us how to clean our waters. We import toothpicks. I think this is where I ought to congratulate our leaders for such fantastic leadership. And I'm not singling out this administration, don't get me wrong. I'm looking at our leaders broadly, especially in this Fourth Republic, because many of you watching me, the youth component in Ghana's population now is huge. So many of you listening to me were born in the Fourth Republic from 1992 onwards. When you look at where we are, and this is where it breaks my heart, there are some of you who are so NDC, so MPP, that you can't even think. I'm sorry. It is true. That is why someone had the effrontery to say once that even if they put forward a goat and put a certain party's colors around that goat's neck, people would vote for that goat. Today, I'm going to be very raw, blunt. You may dislike me for it, but it is what it is. We need people like me and others to say what the reality is. We are so inclined to party A and party B, to black, white, green, and red, to blue, white, and red. So much so that sometimes, look, sometimes the live stream, just last week, I didn't want to go hard on this person because, sometimes you're on TV and you have to let certain things slide. If I had met that person one-on-one, I would have given that person a piece of my mind. I was hosting Dr. Clement Park here. Person was like, oh, this week you've hosted NDC people, this person, that person. First of all, it was factually inaccurate because the other persons, most of the people he mentioned, had not been on my show. I never saw this person complain when I had hosted NPP people back to back to back. Very prominent among them recently, Kwabena Ejapong. No one spoke about that. This gentleman didn't speak. When I hosted one person from the other side, it was haywire. That is why we are where we are. Let me tell you. That is it. Because even in choosing leaders, we are not thinking about Ghana. How will it benefit Ghana? Oh, how will it benefit my ethnic group? Is the person from my end of town? Is the person from my part of the country? Oh, then that person is going to bring the goods to my end. Is the person from my party? It is such senselessness that has led us to where we are. Because we choose people not because they are able or capable. We choose people because, oh, I am Inia. Why Unia? Who is your brother? We are Ghanaians, first of all, before we are Ashanti, Ewe, Krobo, Kusasi, and all of that. Mamprusi. We are Ghanaians first. But everywhere you go, it is ethnic group first. We pretend it is not, but it is. Go to offices. I've known when national service arrangements had been made, I have seen how under this administration, a certain ministry I will not mention, people were assigned, some people, because their names ended with some all of them were taken off eventually, and they had to fight for placement elsewhere. Why? If we want to keep on like this, it is up to us. So when Mr. Vice President says, let's maintain our reputation, I'm asking myself, reputation, babe? Maybe I have to see the story to get a proper understanding. Ho host Independence Parade today, and over 5,000. So let me just expand that so I can see properly. Expected to attend, right? Our Unity Worth celebrating Professor Nana SKB Asante touts nation's credentials. And today I'll be interacting with him on Ghana and how far we have come. Maybe he can tell me about some of those credentials, especially as for a man of his stature, he's been there, he's done that. We have something to celebrate, but how much more could we have been celebrating today? Achu's funeral fixed for March 17, and we do know that government has spoken of giving him a befitting burial, and so we're looking forward to that. We didn't look forward to his passing, but now that he has gone on to glory, we might as well dignify him by giving him a dignifying burial. We need strong support from partners, Oforiatta to Chinese delegation. That is the talk there. And it's some 15 minutes off the top of the hour now. I would have wanted to see very quickly whether we could, on the international front, take a look at that Greek situation with... So let's look at Africa. Tigray rebels deny forming interim government. There's been talk about that, but they have denied it, and that is the major story there as far as the BBC is concerned. Maybe as we move along, if any other thoughts come through on the Greek situation, that disaster head-on collision with two trains will bring you a bit more on that. But in Turkey, quake survivors living in fear on Turkey's streets, and there's also glimpse of future as Liverpool inflict humiliation. And yesterday it was a barren performance by Manchester United, poor attitude by Bruno Fernandes, the captain, and the team simply fell apart. And Liverpool enjoyed easy pickings, netting 7. One of the historic losses of Manchester United. That happened yesterday. Almost unbelievable. There's also Iraq alcohol ban is undemocratic, say Christians. And then the island paradise held prisoner by heroin. There's also Bangladesh investigates blaze in a refugee camp. And all of those stories on the BBC. Well, we have to cap it off here. But again, I'm going to reiterate, for all of you watching me this morning, I am Ghanaian, so are you. What does Ghana stand for? What are our values? And looking at where we are, how much more can we be doing? Let's do that introspection. When we activate the phone lines today, I want a lot of you to call in and tell me your mind. Share your blunt thoughts with me. Just season your words. That is all. Let's take a break, and when we return, of course, Prime Take is up, and that discussion with Mohamed Polo. Do stay for that. Thank you very much for joining us for another big conversation. We're here, at the Wembley Park in Kotobabi in Accra, and this AstroTurf pitch is one that has a lot of history and a lot of storytelling when it comes to the forward story of Ghana football. Now, I've got with me great company in the sense that the history of Ghana football in terms of individual talent and achievements cannot be written without his name. In recent days, he's been in the news for some positive reasons, considering the fact that he presented a development plan to His Excellency the President of the Republic. What does this, football development plan entail, and what can it do to better the lot of Ghana football? Well, I'm glad to be in your company once again because it's time to have another very big conversation, and it's coming from here at the Wembley AstroTurf pitch in Kotobabi in Accra. Well, this place has a lot of history and it has a lot of significance when it comes to the forward story of Ghana football. I've got great company in the sense that in terms of the raw skill, the delivery on the pitch and achievements, he is one name who stands amongst a very, very limited set of people. He's won the Africa Cup of Nations. He's won many accolades to go with them, made achievements in club football on the African continent, and has also made massive achievements here in the local league. Of course, he has 6 of the Ghana Premier League titles to his credit, in addition to many other side competitions and trophies. He's also played good football outside of this country, has experience from the Gulf, and is a recipient of the Grand Medal of the Republic of Ghana, one of the highest honors one can lay their hands on in terms of individual achievements for nation here in Ghana. I'm talking about the only professor of football and the only dribbling magician of football, Mohamed Ahmed Polo. Thank you very much, legend, for your time. It's always great to have your company.
It's a pleasure.
I'm glad to see you again. You look well.
Thank you.
Yeah. Good. Yeah. In recent times, You've been in the news for some very positive reasons because you presented a 5-year development plan to His Excellency the President. Why a 5-year development plan to the presidency at this time in 2023?
Yeah, thank you very much, Nathaniel. Everything has got its time. And life is like a processing, through a certain grounds for achievement. As you rightly said, I was really, touched with your expression of who I am. Sometimes you don't have to be carried away. You have to be focused in whatever you're doing, and I think football has given me life, and taking football as a career, not as a profession. It was a career first, because at our time is amateur. Fortunately, we entered into professionalism period before even retiring, and we tasted it. We thank God that we have the taste, because that is where it involves a lot of eyesight for people to see really what football looks like. I don't think you've seen much of me, but you've read much of me.
Yeah.
If you had seen much of me, you would have said, if I've been in this era generation of professionalism, it would have been a different thing. That's why some people look at me and say, this guy looks like, comparatively with what Messi have done. Messi is one of the best. We cannot run away. But Polo looks different. Those who have seen Polo, somebody will wonder, who has not seen me? But those who have seen me will accept that, yes. But sometimes
Abedi Pele said it once that you and Maradona are the only 2 players in the world who are better than him.
Exactly. And this is one of the greatest in Ghana football. Abedi Pele has seen it all. And if he has, even Osei Kofi, I saw Osekofi, a glimpse of Osekofi, and I know this is a gem. But Abedi, you know, he looks after me. And I'm one of his inspirers. Because I remember coming from Dubai, I look at him, I say, my friend, don't waste your time. Oh. Because we have really, you know, got it here. We've played our football here. But the little chance that we had, you know, outside, people are asking, why didn't you go to Europe? At that time, the interest, you know, with African football and Europe, it's not that, you know, the interest was not there. But today, I mean, everybody wants to go to Europe. That is where you will be seen properly. And because football has become a global village, even if you come to your country, they will follow you if you are a quality player. And, you know, what do we call club champ? Even at the club side, club championship, we have a AFCON.
Yeah.
We have what do we call them? You know, Chan. You know, and all this. So it's now football has become a global village. Wherever you are and you go, you'll be seen. So it's very important that we have to take football very serious and take it at the level that it deserves. And that is why I'm coming out with this
5-year development plan. Okay. Now, what are you suggesting to the president and all of us as a football collective within that development plan that you have submitted? What are the key areas or the key milestones within that big document that you are putting across?
Yeah, I think you know, these are, if I remember very well, you know, I remember, you know, Ben Kofi's time.
Yeah.
When he drew something
similar
5 years development plan, and we saw what came out of it. That is where, you know, I don't know, the Macalations, the Suleiman Taris, the Stephen Appiers, and you mentioned them, you know, from a tender age, from 7. I think they played under 17,
Very well.
moved to 20.
Sure.
I think that this is one of his projects of 5 years development. I sat down and looked at, you know, it because I was part of. Ben Kofi was my coach.
Yeah.
I've gone through all these coaches, the Osami Dodus, and then what do you call it? The few of them before they pass out. So I look at it in the sort of quality football that we were playing, and looking, you know, the sort of technical direction we went through before playing that kind of football at that highest level. I wonder how we are playing that quality football, because our coaches, you know, I'm sorry to say, they were able to identify good coaches, you know, and if I know, you know, what we were doing, we remember when we were in camp, and we don't do much with the ball. We don't do much with the ball. We do some sort of exercises and whatever it is, you know, before we have a game to play. But we are playing, you know, some sort of a quality, you know, football that has some technical direction.
You think we don't have technical direction now?
Yeah, I think even that time we have a technical direction, because that is the football that we're playing. So those who were in charge, whether we like it, whatever they taught us, you know, they were in charge. So they must be given the credit. And we won how many Nations Cup?
4.
4 times. From 63, 65, 78, 82. And we saw the quality players that were there. And they can testify it. You know, some of us are getting the chance to talk. But individual, we all know what is happening. Even when we're playing in our various teams.
Very well. So how are we going to replicate the successes of yesteryear to current day? Because truth be told, things have changed. There is technology, there is, the methods that are being used in coaching now are different and all of that. So how are we, based on what you have suggested, to the presidency, going to get all of this to work for us?
Yeah, I think life is our vision.
Okay.
And direction. And then comes with a passion. I've started, I became a coach as a coach player. I was not even one of the smallest teams. As opposed, I coach as coach player. When I haven't been to, coaching with multi-system man.
The late Coach Ade.
The late Coach Ade. I thought he was grooming me, but I appreciate it because he gave me the chance even to talk to players. Whilst I'm also, part of the players, I give comments, before even the match.
Very well.
And I realized I have something. So if this coach has given me this opportunity, it's telling me that I have something to do in future. Mm. And then I went to for some reason, I have to leave. That same year, I retired. That was 93. I retired 93 after 21 years of active football and to Olympics. And the same thing, I went there and they were having some challenges. I said they should give me the chance. I can change the situation of the technical direction. They were having some problems. I mean, the way they respect me, so they gave me the chance, and I took over. I played 9 consecutive matches without a loss. I remember I had a problem with the Olympics. You remember it's famous. Some people do ask me, why were you substitute and refused to come out? And I told them that I was then the coach, a coach player. Though there was somebody assisting me, but I know the sort of telepathy is there that I'm the final person who should give the
decision.
The decision. Yeah. And I didn't just come, to head that, position just by chance. And what I'm doing, so, human being, there's always some sort of way to frustrate you. So come out. I look at it. What does it? We went to the recess. I give them what I want to be done because I was in charge, and we were playing well. And I told them what should be done. When things are not they wanted. And I look and they were changing. Rather, they were changing me. I have to change myself. If I know I can't, play, I will change myself. But not in this situation. So I refuse to come.
Interesting historic perspective you're giving us here. And if you just joined us, we're spending time with the legendary Mohamed Polo, an Africa Cup of Nations winner and one who has tasted glory on the domestic scene with winning a minimum of 6 titles with the glorious Accra Hearts of Oak. We're taking a look at what is the thought behind his presentation of a 5-year development plan to His Excellency the President of Ghana. Now, you presented this ideally in terms of development and promotion of the game. It's the Ghana Football Association. We didn't see any element of the Ghana Football Association in that gesture that you made to the presidency. Is there any reason why? Have you had a chat with them, because they are the principal workers or the principal movers of the agenda for development of football?
Yeah, I think you're right. Before I got to that level, that is why you asked me. You see, I've dodged all these questions and you still coming with it. You see, I tried to explain how I even became a coach. And I've been in coaching course. I've been to Germany on attachment, and then I have my course with in Pram through this. We've been through it, but something is a gift. You don't waste it, and a gift, need to be given to others who needed it. So, after going through all this process, I've been a coach since '93, up to date. So if my understanding of how football looks like, as a technical, every coach has his philosophy. And that is the difference, with every coach to win him a match. And apart from the fact that you need to have quality players today, you see people buying players here and there. They need quality. Even that, they having challenges. Are they not good coaches? There are, but a coach who worth its salt is coach, who can innovate things, who see things in a different way, can add some value when it's possible. If you are lucky to have players who can give you what you want, fine. But if you can add value, you see that you are always there. But the situation is not like that. Today, the question you ask, yes, before I did all these people are in the know-how.
Okay.
All of them are in the know-how.
So the Ghana FA are aware of this 5-year development plan. Have you submitted it to them as well? Have you given it to them as well?
Yeah. That's what I'm saying.
Okay. Have they shown the kind of interest that you're hoping they will show?
Very, 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 very. It started with the launch of my book.
Okay.
And I invited, I invited the president, but for some reason he couldn't come. But fortunately, the GFA president came, and a very tight schedule. He was traveling that day, and luckily I sent him a text message. I think it was he decided to come, and when he came, the luncheon was when we have to give him the chance to express himself why he came. And he will give us a very encouraging words. And that was my day. So anybody who comes to the luncheon, the person really have polo at heart. Even though some people may not, be there for some reason. And I know, they were there with me in spirit, and I saw it.
Do you feel that you have told the story, your football story in full in the book that you launched? Do you think, when you sit back and you reflect, do you feel that there are aspects of your story which you need to add, maybe like in a second volume or otherwise?
Yeah, I think it depends on those who know who polo is. And this gentleman, Ni Anidaso, is done well. It was one of the sports writers who started. He was a graphic guy. I always forget his name. Okay. He died so early. Very young man like.
Samuel Kainte.
Samuel, oh God.
Late Samuel Kainte.
Yes, the late. May so rest in peace. He started it. And just like that, he felt like God called him. And this gentleman came up. And he has followed me since my journey. Because if he's giving my story as if he has seen me in everything, and it is true, he has seen it, because if I've read the book myself, I'm seeing the pictures of what polo looks like. But, there is a lot to be told about polo.
Okay.
Especially those who knew who polo looks like.
Very well. Now, we're still on development and how you'd want to see things go currently, or how you'd want to see things go in present day. You are looking forward to building an academy, and currently I know you're raising resources, you are putting resources together to get that done. Now, what kind of development structure are you proposing to the presidency regarding how our development structure should look like? For instance, there are those who argue that now we should move towards the academy system. There are those who say, oh, the academies are just in there to do business, they are selling players and all of that. Where do you stand on this regarding the proper structure we should lay for, the juvenile level?
Yeah, I think, everything in life has an advancement. We saw what coach football looks like, where it's coming from. And coach football is the love of the game and the passion that people have, and they gather youngsters to play. But this is something in an advanced way, the academy.
Okay.
But
so you agree with the academy system?
Yes, I do.
Very
but
well.
that doesn't, trash away from, the course.
Completely.
Completely.
Okay.
Because, the course may go there and then, resurrect some people, or, on earth, somebody, and then the academy will come and pick it from there and continue from where it is. Because the course are just, the love of footballers, they want to play. But course, technically, they have something they are putting in place. They have some structures. And without the structures, comparative course, it's nothing to talk about. So course is an advantage. So I feel, it has to go, this depending on, but it has to go with quality of what we want to, implant or infuse into the youngsters.
Okay.
Because we have a style of football.
Okay.
We have, we've seen the quality of football that Ghana has produced from time immemorial, even now. But it looks as if that trend is coming.
Why is our style of football, eroding? You're saying that it looks like it's coming down. Why? What is it that we're doing to erode our style of football?
Yeah, I think what I'm seeing is that the technical direction of our football is going, European style.
Okay.
Because academy is taking, the space, is taking every control because they want the players to play the European, style of, so that when you go there you can be. But no, that is totally, unacceptable to me. Because if you are trained, if you have your style of football, and you are trained the way, our style of football, goes with even those we know that plays the quality, including myself. Because those of us who play that quality are those who made a mark. Even qualification to the World Cup, playing at the World Cup, we saw what the quality of our football looks like. You could see the brand of our football.
That interaction with Mohamed Polo. Just before we get into our next segment, this news review, what we shared with you earlier, was brought to you by Endpoint Homeopathic Clinic. We're offering free prostate screening and free female fertility screening. Where can you locate us? Across Spintex opposite the Shell signboard, Kumasi Kronum Abwehia behind the Angel Educational Complex, Takrade, Anaji State, Tema Community 22, Techiman Hanswa, and Siama Enzima. You can also reach us on 0244 867 068 or 0274 234 321. Endpoint Homeopathic Clinic, the end to chronic disease. Well, on that note, let's settle for Drive Safe up next. And right after that, we have quite a number of conversations on our independence, our journey so far, and where we could be heading as a country. Stay tuned for Drive Safe. Welcome back on Drive Safe with me, Benjamin Akakpo. It's always a pleasure coming to you to talk about how we can stay safe on our roads, and not just safe, but alive as well. We're still here with the CEO of Top Tech Transport and Logistics, Cecil Gabra, and today we continue with part 3 of car tires with a focus on getting the right type of car tire, and we'll also talk about rotation. Do you know that for some car tires, there's a bit about rotation and the particular direction in which they should be going? That means if you fix them the wrong way, you're trying to kill yourself, basically. We'll find out about that, but so you think you know. How about we check out today's road sign and find out how much exactly you do know. So we've seen today's road sign. Do you think you know what it means? Well, we'll find out at the tail end of today's segment. Right now, let's say hello, aloha to Cecil Gabra. Thank you for joining once more.
You're very most welcome, Ben.
Okay.
And
so let's get into it. Car tires is getting more and more interesting, but how do we get the right type of car tire? Tell us about the process to follow.
Well, a lot of people just, have been doing that mistake. They'll just say, oh, give me rim 17, or they want to fix balloon ties for the vehicle to look good. But it's all wrong. Open your door and get the right information. If it says rim 15 only, it will give you either 175, its width, or give you 185, stick to it. But if you go and change the rim 15 and say you are going for rim 16, there you have problems, because rim 15 may have 5 spokes, 16 will also have 5 spokes, but the weight of the tie will change the dynamics of the vehicle, which means that your tie rod ends, your steering rack, everything to do with the controls, your ball joints will suffer. Very soon, within every 3 months, you go to your mechanic, oh, my ball joint, oh, my steering rack. It is because you have fixed the wrong ties. So stick to the manufacturer's specifications and make sure that you fix the right ties that the manufacturer has said you should fix. For instance, if it's 175, fix 175. Don't fix anything. And you can have that information when you open the driver's side of the door. You have every information. If it is not there, it's in your bonnet or your boot, or just go on the internet and then Google the type of vehicle that you are using, and then voila, you get the information.
Right, and those are the processes to follow. How about for someone who doesn't want to go through all that? Is there a shortcut to getting the right type of car tire? Some person would say, I'm going to the vulcanizer, and yes, they have new car tires. They say it's size this and rim that, and it fits, so I take it. I mean, for some people who wouldn't want to go through this entire rigorous process, what can they do?
Well, I think it's now time for all of us to learn, because even if you look at the vehicles that are coming, they are digital, they are talking to you and giving you instructions to start your car. So why can't you find out information on your tires? Unfortunately, the local vulcanizer will not have that time, or will not think of research, and there are only few ones that will do the research work and get back to you. But for me, once you are using a vehicle, you must do your own research work and find out, know much about your vehicle, and you can enjoy the smooth driving of your vehicle. So do your research yourself and know what type of tire you must use for your vehicle.
All right. So that is it. You want to stay alive, so ensure you get the right type of tire. But there's also this bit about rotation. Why is it all car tires that have it, and for the car tires that do? What does this really mean, Cecil?
Okay, there are two topics on rotation. The first one is we have rotation ties, right? When you buy the ties, look at the writings, and it will be written boldly, rotation, showing an arrow indicating that when you fix this tie, it must go this direction straight.
So there's an arrow.
There's an arrow, and this is for rotation ties, not all ties. And then the second rotation that I'm going to talk about, it after every 5,000 kilometers of using your vehicle, you need to rotate your ties. For instance, there's a diagram which says that if it's a front wheel drive, take the front ties and then cross it to the rear. And there's also another diagram which will tell you that if you are using a back axle vehicle, you need to remove the back ties and then cross it in front. Whilst you're crossing it, you need to be very careful to find out whether any tie is a rotation tie, and then if it's a rotation tie, the vulcanizer has to remove the tie and then turn it so it goes to that direction.
Hold it right there. When you say cross it, so for example, you have two tires at the rear, one to the left, one to the right. Does it mean that the one to the left will now go forward to the right, and the one on the rear to the right will now go forward to the left? Is that what you mean?
Okay, so now when you look on the diagram here, it tells you what I mean, okay? That rotate your tires after every 5,000 kilometers. And if you are using a front wheel drive, okay?
So this reflects exactly what I'm talking
precisely.
about. So the two here, this the right to the rear, will now go left to the front.
Yes.
And this, the left to the rear, will now go front to the right.
Precisely, but you didn't ask of the other ties. And if you look at the arrows, it tells you that the back ties, okay, will go to the front for the rear wheel drive. And then for the front wheel drive, this is the opposite direction.
It's the opposite direction.
Right, and I'll give you the reasons. It's because of power. If you look at the front wheel drive, power is driven from the front, which means that if you remove your foot from either the clutch or you are driving an automatic, you go to drive, it is the front ties that will drive first. It takes the power from there and then directs it to the rear.
Right.
So always within a period of time, you find the front wheel ties, you know, getting bad than the back wheel drive for front wheel vehicles. And it's vice versa for the rear wheel drive.
Right.
So remember, after every 5,000 kilometers or after every 3 months, whichever comes first, you have to change it. And again, the last point, when you are traveling, don't leave your tires alone. Don't park your vehicle and then leave your tires to stand for more than 3 months. You need to elevate your tires so your tires will be so fresh when you come back from travel.
Well, another insightful session right there. We're going to continue with car tires, part 4 of car tires, and we're going to be talking about maintenance and protection as well. Well, today we've learned quite a lot, but let's find out about today's road sign. Do you think you got the answer correct? Here's the answer. And this is how we draw the curtains on another installment of Drive Safe with me, Benjamin Akakpo. We're all trying to stay safe. Let's put our hands, let's work hand in glove so that we can all stay alive. Thank you for watching. Let's catch up again on the next segment. Well, thank you very much for staying with us on the AM show. Time now for us to get into the big stories, and who can avoid it? Today marks Ghana's 66th year of independence. Now, this time the event is to be marked in Ho, the Volta regional capital. But what do we have to cheer about 66 years on after breaking free from the imperialist rule? We look back at how far we have come, the misses, the gains, and what the way forward is. Remember those words of Nkrumah on Independence Day. We must face forward. Not look back, but look forward. Well, joining us for that conversation, we have Professor Dr. Nana SKB Asante, constitutional expert and statesman. We also have Kweku Dako Ankra, historian, Department of African Studies at the University of Ghana, Lagos. Later on, we'll also be joined by Dr. Archibald Letta, Volta Regional Minister. We'll be checking with him some details in respect of these independence celebrations. Thank you so much for joining the conversation.
Brother, thank you.
It's the first time
looking awesome.
Thank you. You are too. Looking awesome. Fantastic in your fugu.
Yeah.
Today we are all going local. Would that we could do this more often? I think that would be a good place to start the conversation.
Yeah.
I would have loved to do African prints. I'm enjoying myself this month because I love my African prints. I love my African attire, but the tenor of the show doesn't allow me to do that often. It only allows me to do it on Fridays. So enjoyable moments. But looking at our journey so far, 66 years on, I would just like to find out from you as a start to the conversation, when you think of Ghana, 66 years old, what comes to your mind as a historian?
What comes to my mind is we could have done far better. because looking at our historical processes and how we had the caliber of men, the best, a small country like ours, and if you look at where we started, the way the processes of independence started, how we fought even as equal contenders with the Europeans, even from the coast in terms of trade, how from across, from the central region all the way to Volta, the coast, various educated people, the contestations for trade, culminating into the political process, the way we produce a caliber of professionals, lawyers, medical doctors, engineers, even long before our independence, and achieving independence and having all these reservoir of intellectuals and professionals. And where we are today, it leaves much to be desired. It looks like the political elite have been a disservice to this country post Nkrumah era. And I say this thing with heaviness of heart, that the trajectory that Nkrumah, for instance, was going, despite certain inherent weaknesses that culminated with his government, if the preceding administrations have really learned from some of the mistakes and corrected
and even followed up on some
of it, and that is what is called development. What is development? As the original framers of development see it from the doctrines of development. Coin and Shenton, for instance, if you read that classic book of the doctrines of development by Coin and Shenton, talking that development is divided into two: imminent development and immanent development. The imminent development is the idea of having the blueprint of what intend to go with the idea. So as a country, this is where we're supposed to go. It comes with the budgets, it comes with the policies, and the way you want to move. That process of bringing is what is called the imminent development. Okay? Now, when the development starts, as the policies are rolled and the problems are coming out, the problems that comes out is what is called the immanent development. So your ability to find solution to the immanent development then it leads to correction of the system itself. So development itself becomes a process, always in continuum. And this is what actually leads to the kind of transformation, the progress that we want in society.
Thank you so much for those initial thoughts that you have shared with us. Let me also bring in Professor Dr. SKB Asante, a constitutional expert, a statesman, if you like, and he joins the conversation as well. A very good morning to you. The last time we spoke, you came here in the studio, and today I get to see you all the way via Zoom. Good morning.
Good morning.
It's really good to have you. Just this morning, I didn't have the benefit of grabbing a copy of the Daily Graphic, but I saw there on today's Daily Graphic one of those headlines, what you are sharing in terms of our national life, how far we have come. If I asked you, Doc, and I'll premise my question on this, I was sharing this morning, if you asked the ordinary Ghanaian, what are the values of Ghanaians? What do we stand for? What does it mean to be Ghanaian? Many people will struggle because I do not even know. What are the values in terms of being Ghanaian? What would be your reflection on 66 years of our national life, from the First Republic and Prime Minister, then President Nkrumah, to this Fourth Republic and the experiment with democracy? What do you see as a way of starting the conversation? How far have we come?
Well, in order to start the conversation, we have to consider where we started from. I grew up at a time when there were actually 4 main administrative areas in what was then the Gold Coast. We had the the colony, that is the southern part. We had Shanti, which comprised all the Shanti and Bongahafo. We had the northern territories, comprising all the former northern regions. And then Trans-Volta Togoland, which was a trust territory administered by the British on behalf of the United Nations. Now, I saw in my lifetime how these various units were integrated, starting from 1946, when Ashanti joined the colony, 1951, when after the general elections, the northern territories were incorporated into one entity with the Ashanti and the colony, and eventually, after 1956, the plebiscite in 1956, Trans-Volta have been integrated with Ghana. So all these changes took place within barely 10 years, from 1946 to 1956, and we had our independence in 1957. So from my point of view, we had a very fragile nation when we had our independence. So our first major achievement is the survival of Ghana as a national entity, and the fact that the various pieces have been separated, haven't pulled off from each other. We are still one country. Quote the words of President Liman, we have survived. Secondly, we are not torn by any internal strife, either on ethnic or religious or regional grounds, in a very big way. As we have seen in other countries, we know how countries, don't have to name them, the Afghan war, we had a split of Pakistan from India, we had a split between Malaysia and Singapore, we had a Sri Lanka issue between Sinhalese and the Tamils, we had the Biafra issue in Nigeria. We haven't had similar things. So we have to congratulate ourselves. And then so far as democratic experiment is concerned, we all know that we had challenges at the beginning. After the very robust leadership of Nkrumah, there was a period of instability. But within the past 30 years, we have managed altogether, and we are now being toasted as no issues of stability and constitutionalism in a very turbulent area. There's no mean achievement. And that is based on our constitution. And when you think of our values, of course we have our traditional values. But if you think of our constitutional values, they are actually embedded in articles in chapters 5 and 6 of our Constitution. If you read chapter 6 particularly, the directive principle of state policy, they actually spell out the values that we are supposed to be integrated into one nation with one law, one country, that we are to promote human rights, that we are to promote even development of all parts of the area, that projects started by one government should be, as far as possible, continued by successor government, that citizens have responsibilities, and that the vulnerable should be taken care of. These are the values, and of course, that we should have a healthy economy to the benefit of all. Sometimes some of our young people wonder whether the Constitution was made for a certain section. No, we look at the directive principles of state officers. These values are there. The other parts of the Constitution deal with various structures and so forth, but it is my submission that if you look at Chapter 5, which guarantees human rights, fundamental freedoms in a very, very emphatic way, and we look at Chapter 6, which shows what good governance should be promoted. We have in that document right estimation of the values that we should aspire to. So we have done well as far as these areas are concerned. Of course, the great expectations that Nkrumah pronounced and so forth, some of them haven't achieved. For example, Nkrumah said that independence was meaningless without the total liberation of Africa. Now, Ghana under Nkrumah really spearheaded African emancipation. That has been achieved. It has also been reinforced by the fact that Ghanaian professionals went to African countries, assisted them with technical assistance. The Ghanaian officials played prominent roles of international organizations, such as the United Nations, the first chairman of the General Assembly, the first African Secretary General, the first African chairman of the PGA, many United Nations organizations or international organizations being headed by Ghanaians. So we have done well. Now, of course, there are areas that we haven't done so well. And that is the economic takeoff, the development of technology. We see what our Asian counterparts, Malaysia, Singapore, China, Korea have done. Then we have some deficits, and that is something that we can discuss further.
Right. Do hold for me. Do hold for me, Doc. That's an interesting premise with which we're starting the conversation. But let me just come back into the studio and find out from you. Just this morning, I had an interaction with Afil Mone, former president of the GJA, and he called what our leaders have been doing criminal neglect. Dr. SKB Asante just reminded me of Charles Dickens' book, Great Expectations. He used, that phrase in there. When you look at our independence, the journey so far, you look at what the achievements have been, and maybe you focus on the Fourth Republic these last 30 plus years and what we've been doing, the back and forth. What would be your analysis of how far we have come within this republic, Fourth Republic?
Yeah, how far we have come democratically, we've been consistent, as Nana Prof said. We've been consistent. So far, we don't have any truncation in the democratic process. So, well done there. However, how has the democracy itself contributed to the general well-being of the individual in society?
That is a question many young people especially are asking.
At the end of the day, for people who are of certain age, having lived through certain regimes, they are able to reflect and then make a comparative analysis of what occurred from 57, these truncations, and then sometimes they reflect and say, oh, this is okay. But what about the young man who had no knowledge of those periods, and he has no intention of knowing what happened there because he is living a moment where there are certain existential problems that is affecting him directly, politically, economically, and socially. How is that person living? And that brings me to my analysis of the question you ask me. Democratically, we have done well. However, how have the political actors who are ruling the country been able to manage the country so much that when we talk about development, as it is known everywhere, whether from the political science definition of talking about stronger political systems, talking about from the environmentalist idea of having better environment instead of degradation, or talking it from the lawyer's view of where there must be rule of law and everything, or from the development concept of the idea of human development, or development as a distributive justice, development as freedom. How has that occurred in our country with the political actors taking the lead? This we have not realized that much in a country because, as Nana told us, per the directive principles of state policy, how have the politicians themselves lived in tandem with these provisions within the Constitution, as a people leading the country, how are they being responsible in that people have given them that social contract? Have they been able to deliver? Or we have 4-year tenure of running election where it is only based on slogans. So our governance has become sloganeering. And this many critical scholars on our Ghanaian political history from 1992, and I like this particular one from one of the scholars from Harvard. He called it every 4 years our time to chop. So even if you look at our political climate, it is an avenue for individuals to get easy access to wealth rather than being in leadership and providing the needed opportunities for people within the country to realize their dreams and goals. And for this, they have failed woefully. Okay? Because if you talk about development as freedom, as Amartya Sen really talked about, what is development itself? It's creating the environment and opportunities so that individuals' functional capability can be used to achieve their dreams. Do we have that in this country? Can a child born in, let's say, Asokore Mampong, whose father is not a king or a chief or somebody,
where Dr. SKB has
yes, or a Chaco Celeste fan, will be able to have better access to education. Then say tomorrow, I want to be like Nana, the way he has been. Does he have that opportunities around him? Will he get better school to go?
In fact,
what kind of desk is he sitting on?
In terms of education, for example, what Nana had to go through, would a child born in Asokore Mampong today have a better opportunity compared to what Nana had?
Never. Because for what they have then, there was a better system which opened avenues. Free education didn't start today. The opportunity to start the school enrollment.
Right.
It was there back in the next time. And from what we have, it is a reiteration of some of the systemic thing that was produced in the First Republic. And now it just has been enhanced and the population is also big as it is. So when we don't have certain fundamental ideals or certain data within the country that provides opportunity for young people, irrespective of their background, to have access to education, to have access to progress within the educational system, to realize their dream. Now the question even is that when we talk about development in this country economically, do we have industrial policy? You can, anytime you see the politician, ask the government or various government, if we have an industrial policy that is tuned or linked to education, how do we integrate students who have completed university into the industry so that they can realize their dreams? How is the recruitment, even from the university into job places? How is it done? Does the government have the policy? If it doesn't have the policy and so on, is the kind of education that we have in this country capable of molding a person that even if he doesn't have that education to industry, he can stand on their own to realize their dream?
You're an academic. Tell me, what's your answer? What's your candid answer to that? The sort of education we get here, does it prepare you for the job market? And even if you don't go to university, for example, you don't pursue tertiary education, are you given enough to be able to feed into that market? What is your answer?
Yeah, so the university prepared the person, okay? And the university does not prepare you just to come and job, but you should be able to, wherever you find yourself, try to make a living, because your mind has been couched in such a way that you become functional for yourself. That's why some people leave universities. They need not anybody to employ them, but they start. However, for that thing to occur, the country itself or the environment itself must also have certain conducive atmosphere. So for instance, do you have venture capital fund that is there so that a young man who has graduated from university, who wants to start his own business, can do? Oftentimes we talk about Mark Zuckerberg, we talk about Elon Musk, we talk about Bill Gates, how they all drop out of Harvard University. Some starting from their father's garage, Facebook, and so on, and going to get venture capitalists who will invest in their idea which become global today, employing millions of people as individual in America and even affecting the world. Now, do we have that even when you go to the politics of it, you get out of Legon, have all the brilliant idea, go to the Ministry of Trade to go and secure venture capital fund. The questions and the processes of getting it even has been politicized. Okay, so our system itself does not engineer that sort of opportunity for the creative mind to realize their dreams.
So even when you are creative, there are impediments that will not allow you, both from the venture capitalist and both from governments and in terms of support. So, and without funding, you cannot move forward. One thing we can say for certain is that the Mark Zuckerbergs and the Steve Jobs and all the others, while they had these brilliant ideas and while they started small, they had investments come in.
That is it.
Not even Microsoft with Bill Gates would have taken off without some investment.
That is it. So if you don't have that enabling environment, you don't have the enabling environment that allow the individual to achieve his functional capabilities, then you are not progressing.
Is our system broken in that regard?
To a very large extent, it is. Because a system that should work could not work on whom you know basis, not on political affiliations, and so on. So if you are very observant and you look at our political environment vis-a-vis economic transformations, you will realize that per every regime, it produces its different kind of businessmen.
Right.
And as that regime goes off the space, those businesses go off the board, and the new one that can also uplift new ones. So we don't have that competitiveness that, okay, this business was doing well, this one is still standing. If we don't have that, then we have the totality of benefits.
Okay.
So the system itself is problematic.
Nana, let me bring you in on this. The fourth Republican experiment, democracy. All the way from the 80s, we had the PNDC under Flight Lieutenant Jerry John Rawlings, may his soul rest in peace. And then we started with democracy. In fact, you played a crucial role in that constitutional committee, that team that put together the 1992 Constitution. How well has it served us in this period, over 30 years? And I do recall sometime in 2007, you said, don't rush to amend Constitution. That is the 1992 Constitution of Ghana. It's been somewhat 14 plus years after 2007, more like 16 years. Some say the major problems we have stem from the 1992 Constitution of Ghana. What would be your reaction to that? And is it time now to tweak the Constitution?
First of all, before I come to the Constitution, I would like to comment on what my dear colleague said, the historian. There are lots that I agree with him, particularly if you have regard to the experience of the Asian countries. I used to be an official of the World Bank in the late 1960s, and in 1968, I was sent on a mission to South Korea to get officials and representatives of private banks to establish the Korea Development Finance Corporation. This was the vehicle which provided the channel for the flow of foreign capital to Korea to assist in the industrialization of Korea. At that time, Korea, 1958, was a developing country, poor country, with a capital income no higher than that of Ghana. They went through an educational process.
Nana, my apologies for doing this, but I know, I mean, with your voice and everything, but I would appreciate it if you could speak just a little louder. It's a little difficult hearing what you're saying.
All right. What I'm saying is that what my friend said about development is very, very interesting. And from the experience that I had from my international service,
right,
what the Asian state is very relevant to us. I was citing the example of South Korea and how they were able to move from a very low per capita income, low development status, to high economic level with excellent performance in science and mathematics, and 7 of 12 largest economy and so forth. I saw a little bit of Malaysia. I was very much involved in some aspects of the development of capacity of the Chinese to get involved in international business transactions. I saw a little bit of Singapore because I was a World Bank lawyer for Singapore projects. They, as my friend pointed out, had a particular policy, a long-term policy in each case, development policy, which they carried through. They had a way of actually acquiring technology and applying this technology and giving the state resources for the development of certain technologies. They were, Malaysia, for example, was able to move away from its colonial economy of providing raw materials for export into coming on industrialized country. So these are things that we can learn from. And he mentioned the school, university curriculum. That's very, very important. You know, all of us were brought up in an era where we produce graduates to service the administration and so forth. But these Asian countries put a lot of emphasis on technical institutes, which provided expertise to support their industrialization program. And persons who went to these technical institutes and acquired requisite diplomas were respected. They were given as much recognition as graduates of universities. I think we are now realizing that. But not too long ago, to go to a technical school was supposed to be infra-dig. So these are very, very important things. And I mentioned that because we seem to be preoccupied with reviewing our constitution. In my humble view, as I've said, reviewing our constitution would not necessarily ensure development. Can you hear me? I don't know whether you can hear me.
I can hear you, Nana.
Yes. Will not necessarily ensure development. Now, when we talk of reviewing the constitution, I will enter to one or two caveats. First of all, anything which has lived for about 30 years deserves to be reviewed, no question at all. But the expectations of this review should not be exaggerated. I pointed out that in addition to actually revising the text, one should look at the values. The values are already stated in the directive principles of the state policy and in the chapter on fundamental human rights and so forth. If the political class adheres to this, there will be very little that Ghanaians will complain about. They will not complain about corruption because corruption is definitely prohibited. They will not complain about certain areas being ignored because there's an imperative injunction requirement for even and equal development of areas. They will not complain about some people being discriminated against because integration of all people, irrespective of backgrounds, whether ethnic or religious and so forth. This is the major requirement of these provisions and so forth and so on. They will not complain about economic dysfunction because the Constitution prescribes that they should develop a sound economy for the benefit of all Ghanaians. So there's a lot in the Constitution which can be translated into action. Now, there's one thing which I would also like to say. In our adoption of multi-party politics, we have adopted some of the worst forms of multi-party politics. Everybody, this idea of them and us, so that when one comes in, the other side is completely excluded. It's really inimical to nation building, in my humble view. Many people don't agree with me. But if you have a plural society where you are trying to build all these heterogeneous components into one entity, it doesn't help too much to say that we have one when the we may have certain regional or ethnical connotations and they have not. And therefore, they are excluded. So we can think of that. And that is not really dictated by the Constitution, but that's part of the political culture which is associated with multi-party system. Whereas when you go to certain European countries, they have a more inclusive approach, a more consensual approach to development, or to nation building, or to economic and other things, which involves other people, not only those who have won. These are things that you'll be thinking of. We should also think of meritocracy. The Asian countries insisted on meritocracy, and so you had a country like China able to wipe up substantially poverty within 30 years, insisting on meritocracy. We shouldn't be so mesmerized by what goes on in America and UK and think that this is the ideal. We should think of us as a developing country which cannot afford to be too exclusive in our approach to development. I think I'll stop here. Otherwise, I'll give you a whole lecture.
And those are some brilliant thoughts you've espoused. Let me come to Kweku. How well do you feel our 1992 Constitution has served us? In 2010, and the former President Mills, he too, may his soul rest in peace, he set up the Constitutional Review Commission, and over 90% of what they put forward was jettisoned, and it's still gathering dust on the back of that white paper. How well has our 1992 Constitution served us? And do you feel we've got to the point, like Nana would suggest, after 30 years, definitely you would, that's like a generation, you would need some change? What is your take?
I agree, but when in this country, when it comes to constitutional review and constitutional expert, I don't think anybody have the kind of government that
Nana has.
He has that. And but from my own study of the Constitution, and as he has also agreed, there need to be certain corrections. Okay, in terms of there's too much power for a president in this country. This is a country where a president can appoint and even appoint an ordinary assemblyman in a village somewhere. The president does not even know what they call the president appointees to a district assembly. Can you imagine? These are all superfluous. Now, the president appointing all the members,
DCEs,
MCEs, and so on.
Chairs of boards, people working as state-owned enterprises, the IGP, the electoral commissioner.
Look, if you look at the appointing capabilities of the president in this country, it is too much. That if he decide, as he said, unfortunately the politicians have adopted the worst forms of what constitute democracy. Okay? But if they were to do as he has agreed, in tandem with the directive principle of state policy, as it is enshrined in the Constitution, we wouldn't have this much. But here is a situation where people are not adhering. So we need to really look into the Constitution. Some of the things that make it possible or make it easier for people to commit graft, corruption, and all other forms of things that affect this country, we need to really look at them. And one of them is looking at the role of the president in that appointing capability of a president in everything. We need to capture certain offices and make them independent of the president. People need to be vetted and then apply for certain offices. Just as you talk about at this day and age, district assembly elections, this should not be appointed. However, Politicians are very smart. The very thing that when they were in opposition, they were criticizing, as soon as they come to power and they realize, oh, this thing is good, it gives additional power. So whatever they talk about it, as soon as they are in power, they change because they also have seen how it inures to their own benefits. Yeah. Particularly in terms of giving job opportunities to their party members and their cronies, because it's created. Then again, there are certain constitutional, how do you call it, conventions, okay? For instance, the number of people the president can appoint, even to the office of the president. I get the point. The payments and so on. What kind of criteria do they look before you get those people? So you meet all caliber of people who does not contribute a dime to national development. We need to look at all these constitutional conventions. That does not serve us in any way. And make sure that we try to come out with certain legal frameworks or constitutional amendments that will get rid, because it makes it prone for corruption to occur in our country. So for me, our constitution needs to be really looked at. And as he said, people like him are still alive. Where we think this country is not benefiting from some of this legislation that need to be amended, we need to. Those that need to be also taken out of, because we are not getting the best from the constitution, and there is the need to do that. There's the need. That's how I say it.
Let me just find out from you, as you've touched on this, how would you also assess leadership in this Fourth Republic? We had Rawlings, we had Kufuor, we had Atta Mills, we've had Mahama, and now we have Akufo-Addo. How have we fared? Before I go back to Nana.
This is a very challenging question and quite political. Normally, I'm not comfortable, but I will speak my mind freely.
I think sometimes we've also become a people that is so, we walk on eggshells. Sometimes we try to avoid offending this or that. I feel if we keep on like that, our politicians will also remain as they are.
You see, it's because of the tagging of individuals, even when you are speaking your mind, and also the creation of certain so-called serial callers and individuals, party communicators, who, when even well-established experts and so on are speaking on the matter, because it does not go in favor of one of them, then they put you in that place. And that, if you don't take time to become who you are known for. And that is why you see some of us, when we are coming out, it is a little bit difficult. However, it is clear that when you take from 1992 up till now, from late President Rawlings to Kufuor, Mahama, and currently Nana Addo, you see that fundamentally all of them have continued to work on the issues of democracy. So for democracy, they have all tried to do the best they can. We have not had any truncation. So I will say the idea of elite consensus, understanding that we have all come into an agreement that every 4 years there will be elections. So there is no need for anybody to take to arms to overthrow. So they have been able to establish that elite consensus. And I think that is fundamental. So even if someone is not doing ruling,
but some have also said that because they have created that understanding or that political proposition, they also feel, you know what, I can do what I want in 4 years until it is time again for you to have the power. In other words, when you give me your power, just as from the Greek polis, you know, your power is in my hands for 4 years and there's nothing you can do about it. Some say that in itself is also part of the problem.
Yes, so like you said, so far, even the 4 years we are talking about, we've not had any example of showing someone the door after just a term. I get the point. So we need to even come to what you are just espousing. The idea, because if you come to power...
Well, former President Mahama, I mean, in actuality serving as president.
No. You wouldn't take it that way, because he even served some of the terms of his predecessor. And it's still in tandem with the idea of 8 years, because it's the same party.
It was still the same.
Yes. I'm looking at the idea of, let's say, this party came one term, and because of his mismanagement of the economy and so on, 4 years, we've shown you off the door. In fact, when that proposition that you just made, if it were even to occur within 4 years, we will see certain transformation in our political process. And political leaders will be very active. But what it is that if you look at all this range, they have all told one line. Various policies that they've come has been more of sloganeering. Sloganeering policy.
Wild promises.
Than policies that will push the country forward. So you look from President Rawlings's time, various policies, various development that went on. And this development, we have seen them in infrastructural addition in this country. That is what we really try to praise ourselves. When we provide buildings, roads, and we think that is the end of it. We build schools. What are the fundamental policies, as I talked to you, the human development? This is not talk, because the idea of development in our mind, and Nana was given as example from General Park's situation in South Korea. We're talking about what happened in Singapore, where the fundamental, they will look at industry and how to link it with the economic development.
Link it to education.
Link it to education. Link it to even the very idea of the individual growing up. How do we take technical aspect? We still have low technical capacity. We still have low management capabilities. It is still our problem. If you go to the oil rig, the upper management, what they call the chain in terms of the value chain, at the top level, so we still have expertise coming. If you go to the low level, even when we started, people have to come from Nigeria, the technical work, and that's why Nana is saying that it is even now that we are even having the mind to come with the TVTs, okay, the technical school, just to, right, the TVETs, to get people. I get that point. So in terms of real economic policy with industrialization, with technology, and so on, we are still back.
Right.
What it is still in vogue is the provision of roads, buildings, and so on. It reached a stage, they say Ghana Rising. And you know the fundamentals they were using for the Ghana Rising. Emergence of the malls, the availability of malls. People were arguing that it means Ghana has produced a lot of middle income status individuals who have the purchasing power. But in Accra here, the high-rise building, the recent research done by Professor Ian Yabua from Miami University established that most of the high-rise buildings you see are empty. They are just there. People see the things are going on. Nothing is going on. We are still using the GDP as indicator for measuring our economic development, when this is not the actual thing that will reflect the totality of the economy.
If it were just GDP, you could pick our GDP, juxtapose it with that of Rwanda, for example. But can we say that we're faring better in real developmental terms than they are? That's the question.
When all these things are going on, they don't look at the issues of marginalization, inequality. As I'm talking to you, marginalization and inequality is about 64% in this country. Very few people are producing and pushing the GDP, while large majority of people are living hand to mouth. But the politicians are always insistent on dealing with issues of just getting the loans, building 1 or 2 stuffs, but we are not looking at the kind of development that goes to human development, science and technology. Okay?
And without that human development, everything else is not going to.
Yes.
Let me just hold you there. And interestingly, just to buttress a point you made about, seeking foreign help or external help for everything we do. I don't know whether you saw recently, even in clearing our Galamsey polluted waters, we needed to call on the Japanese.
Yes, so
we can't. It appears there's nothing the Ghanaian can do.
You see, and that is sad, especially me coming from Institute of African Studies, and I know Nana is also having at the time that he was born the idea of self-reliance, the capability. And Nana told you, look, Ghanaians are all over the world managing top-notch corporations, technology, and so on. So why can't we have them in this country? an attempt has been moved to tap into our diaspora. So the president created the diaspora desk. The intention of tapping into the diaspora, which became very fundamental for the World Bank from 2012 going, where the idea of getting remittances. And do you know very well that even in this country, our remittance, the money that we get from remittances alone is more than our foreign direct investments. Are you aware? So if we are to tap into even into our diasporic base and trying to attract knowledge systems, finances, and ideas in solving our problems, we could even move further than this idea of always relying on this IMF and World Bank. And some of us thought that was the idea the president had in mind when he came initially when saying Ghana beyond aid, that he had intention of trying to, maximize the advantages that accrue from the diaspora. We couldn't see that. And at the end of the day, that same old idea of relying on external finances, which has never helped in our part of the world. Koreans and other people train their people in many technologies. So when the finances came, they were able to use it for a takeoff. Did we train people? Did we know where we have our advantage? Are we still processing our raw material, or we are still a raw material producing economy? For instance, you have the bauxite, and already you have even hinged it on a loan collateral for a loan from China. Right. We recently have lithium. I was recently helping some scholars. The one even in Central region, where in Cape Coast there. Right. This lithium, as Elon Musk is buying for the Tesla, it has become a big thing because of the energy issue. So everybody is trying to go on energy, clean energy cars, so Tesla, Benz, and so on. What in South Korea, Asian countries, what they did is that Elon Musk himself and other car producers, they go straight to the mines, and then they sort of develop the batteries right from there. And two, even the World Bank is saying, as well as the UN, is that it is environmentally better to produce the battery from the home country and send it to where it's going to use in a vehicle. Because when you put the lithium itself in a ship and it falls into the sea, it creates another environmental degradation to the oceanic system or oceanic habitat. However, in Ghana, for instance, when we got it in, the agreement is that we will still send the raw lithium. Just as we send the cocoa, just as we send
everything raw. Cocoa, gold, everything raw.
We could not even argue at this day and age for a refinery to be built so that we will even have the batteries ready in Ghana, so that we can even have car here. We are still sending the raw material.
And that takes me to the question that I want to pose to Doc, Professor Dr. SKB Asante. Leaders and their thinking, especially in this Fourth Republic. You would think that we had come of age having hit 1992. In fact, let me just read these comments just to situate what I am saying. Limbio Ewuda says, Osajefo fought for the socio-economic independence of Ghana and Africa as a whole, but his battles and sacrifices have been in vain. This one says, it's from Papa Ike. If many parts of the Ghanaian constitution cannot be reviewed, but ex gratia can be scrapped, I would be very happy. And that's something I have tabled here that I had wanted us to speak about. This one says, and I just want us to look, there was someone who was saying that water is not flowing through their taps. Yes, Sir Andy Bethwell says, we don't have water flowing in our taps, so 66 years of independence. Solomon Nyantechi says, the lack of vaccines for children in Ghana is the first time I've heard of it in my adult life. But still, we want to celebrate our independence. He goes on and on, but I don't want to get into the politics of it, what he says there. The points that are made, ordinary Ghanaians don't have water. 66 years, no water. Vaccines. And as he's saying, first time in his life, for me, is the first time I am hearing that vaccines have run short. In some places, 2 months plus. In some places, 1 month plus. And these are the little things that we can do to shore up the most vulnerable in society. Who are more vulnerable than babies? Children. You're exposing them to polio, rubella, Measles. There's an outbreak up north right now of measles. So putting that into context, our leaders, let's focus on the Fourth Republic, what we know for now. How have they fared to you? And you can even score them if you want. Nana?
Well, like my my colleague, you are putting me a chief in a very sensitive position about comparing leaders. Comparing leaders means comparing parties. By the Constitution, we are not supposed to be involved in active partisan politics. Unfortunately, anything you say against one particular leader will be seen as a partisan declaration.
It's like being in a court of law. It can and will be used against you.
But we can also draw upon the leadership qualities of the Asians. And I've always been attracted by that. You know, for years I worked with the public service and some of the leadership of these Asian countries. And I have a lot of admiration for them. Their insistence on meritocracy is something that I would like to emphasize. Meritocracy, which means that no special consideration for any particular party or any particular ethnic or religious or any sectarian factor, is very, very important. You know, when Ghana became independent, the Public Service Commission sent delegations to the capitals of the world looking for qualified Ghanaians to come, irrespective of their ideological affiliations. Those days, it didn't matter at all. Unfortunately, we have a situation where partisan considerations are paramount. There are even organizations like GAFIX, the Ghana Association of former international civil servants, which have offered, I belong to that, we have offered our services to various administrations free of charge. And they have been rebuffed. And this has happened not only in our case, but in other cases, because, you know, they're not too sure of, possibly they're not too sure of our affiliation or where we stand ideologically, which is rather concerned by the relevant consideration. I would like to have a leadership which draws up a development plan as to our development goals and our targets, and then seeks talent for the execution of this agenda without reference to anyone's political or ethnic or other affiliation. That is a leadership that I'm looking for. A leadership which promotes inclusive approach to development and to nation building. We are still a plural society. We have to be inclusive, but there has to be regard to quality. If you look at the Koreans, for example, nobody can be a minister without some specialist qualification in that area, so forth and so on. Now, my friend talked about constitutional reform and the powers of the president being extensive. If you look at the words of the Constitution, well, they're right. When we were doing the committee of experts, when we were doing our report, we provided for a number of things which have imposed some checks on presidential power that they rejected. For example, we suggested that what we now call district chief executives should be elected by the assembly, admittedly not by the assembly, not appointed by the president. They rejected. We proposed a proportional representation, which at the electoral level would have meant that each vote had counted, not first past the post, would have led to a more inclusive and consensual approach. They rejected that. We proposed a much more effective Council of State, rather on the lines of the second. They rejected that. And so when we talk of constitutional review, we started having efforts even before the Constitution was finalized. But on the presidential powers, I would like to point out one single thing. You know, it was never stated in the Constitution that on the inauguration of the president, all directors and chief executives of public corporations and statutory authorities should be removed. That was by virtue of the Presidential Transition Act of 2012 or thereabouts. That was something which was passed by the two major parties in Parliament because of partisan considerations of patronage. It was not stipulated in the Constitution. So if people are frustrated by these things, isn't it significant they did that? And there are other provisions which have not been implemented. For example, Article 181, subclause 5, provides for the review and approval of international business transactions by Parliament. So these are international business transactions which the executive is entering into. They are subject to parliamentary approval because of our history of incurring debt. Now, we all know where we stand. And if you blame the executive, it's not correct, it's not complete, because Parliament approved all the loans which are now given us from. So there was a constitutional provision for the vetting and approval of these transactions. However, it did not work. Why did it not work? That is one of the things we have to look at when you are proposing constitutional reviews, that they must be accompanied by values, certain values and certain capabilities and so on. Just by changing the word or the text of the Constitution doesn't achieve a certain developmental goal or a certain constitutional tenet. You must have that particular value embedded. So leadership, I cannot pinpoint any particular one of my thoughts. I mean, from my own experience, there has been a leader who has listened to my advice on international business transactions and what his ministers to profit from my experience in terms of training and in terms of reviewing these contracts. That is only one aspect. So you can't generalize.
Right.
So,
right. To wind down on the conversation, Kweku and Nana. So we've come very far, 66 years on. Young people are calling for more, especially as our population in Africa is going to be very youthful. It will continue becoming youthful. It is very youthful. It will continue to be that, especially when we hit 2050 and beyond. What can we expect moving forward? And again, there is that demon of abandoned projects in this country. It continues to foil our developmental efforts. You spoke about development. Development is adding on. You do A, I get to B, the next person gets to C or D, and we keep going on. As you deliver your final comments in 2 minutes each, if you can, how do we, make progress on that front? I'll start with you, Kweku.
Yeah. So, we've made various attempts to have a national policy. But these national policies themselves, sometimes when this one starts, there is a lack of political will from the others. So lack of consensus has also trampled upon our idea of having a national blueprint that irrespective of who is in power will follow that blueprint. There is the need to have a national consensus that will build irrespective of every Ghanaian should be on board. And then we agree. And this shouldn't be a kind of policy that we do. We have to send it to IMF or World Bank for them to sanction it. But it should come from ourselves. Now we are talking about AU Agenda 263 and so on. We need to look at that agenda and then focus our developmental ideals in line with it, I think there's something good within the AU Agenda 2063 that is of African origin. So let's try and do something around that line.
Right.
And then some of the issues we've discussed here, issues of trying to deal with the constitutional review with specific reference to the powers of the president. For me, one of the things we even forget, which I'd like to reiterate, is about even the appointment of people or judges into Supreme Court. I don't know how many there are now, but it looks like it is packing. It's packing. We need, US have 9, okay? We need to also have a cutoff point, something I think Nana in his submission needs to talk about. Other than that, if any leader comes and he's even misbehaving, he can pack the court so much that when he's leaving, the one that will come will not have people to deal with, and everything will become a joke in this country. So for me, that is very fundamental. And also the politicians should eschew idea of nationalism. People should live in the country and think of Ghana first, instead of looking at politics as a place of making money.
Right.
And so I'm in Legon, I see the youth, you are teaching them. When they come to university, in fact, they come to the university well prepared as politicians from secondary schools. So as soon as they complete school, they know that the only way they can make it easy is to go into politics, rather than to find yourself in any other profession. So I have a student, I thought the next time he is working with a general secretary, the next time you see the kind of cars he is driving and the kind of acquisition, a professor who has even taught all his life cannot get what this young man will have. So our development ideals and everything has been distorted. And now the only thing people know that if you want to achieve your self-actualization in life, just join politics and everything will be. That shouldn't be the idea for nation building.
Unfortunately, that is the mindset now. Thank you so much, Kweku. But before we wrap the conversation, before I come to you, Doc, just hold for us briefly. Let's quickly bring in our correspondent in the Volta region, Fred Kwame Asare. Now, the parade has started very soon. We'll be seeing Mr. President showing up at the grounds in Adaklu. Fred, what can you tell us about the scenes there so far as we get ready for the 66th Independence Parade?
I should say that it's a charged atmosphere here because this is a one-time opportunity for many people here in the Volta region who have never witnessed the National Independence Anniversary Parade. The stadium, we were told, is about 5,000 capacity and it has been filled to the brim. People are standing at the outskirts of the inner perimeter. The stands, all 4 stands have been filled to the brim, and people are standing at the outskirts having a glimpse of what is actually going on. The contingents have just marched onto the field. We were told about 22 contingents will be participating in this particular parade. Some selected schools from Adaklu, and then who would also be taking part in the Independence Day parade. I should also say that in addition to the anniversary celebrations, people in the Volta region are also tapping in or cashing in on the national event being held here in Ho and Adaklu. Businesses have set up at the environs of the Youth Resource Center, that is the Volta Regional Youth Resource Center here in Adaklu, to make some money for themselves. I spoke to some of them and they are excited about this particular event. Some actually mentioned that if every year the national event should be held in the Volta region, they would be very happy, and then they appreciated the government for deciding to rotate the national anniversary celebration because they are cashing in on the event, and then they are also having an experience of what it takes or how the Independence Parade is being done in Accra. You know, for some time now it has always been in Accra, but then now they also have the opportunity to watch and then see how it is done. So they are excited about it, and I should say that not less than 10,000 people are packed here at the whole the Adaklu, the Volta Regional Youth Resource Center here in Adaklu.
So you mentioned the capacity was 5,000, then you mentioned 10,000. Just clarify, what is the real figure within the stadium?
Well, the stadium, we were told, is 5,000 capacity, but then all the seats here at the moment is occupied or are occupied. And then we have people standing around, you have people moving in circles who are who were not able to locate seats and then sit down. Also, there have been stands set up at the in between the stands, and they are all filled to the brim. That is how come I mentioned that earlier. At the press launch, we were told that about 10,000 people would be gathered here for the event, and then also about 5,000 VVIPs would be also invited for the event. So I should say about 10,000 of people are here at the Volta Regional Youth Resource Center in Adaklu to witness the 65th Independence Anniversary Parade.
Fred, thank you very much for giving us those updates. We'll be tracking back to you shortly. But let me take the final comments of Nana, Dr. SKB Asante. I'm sure you've seen the scenes there in the Volta region. So the same question I posed to Kweku as we were wrapping up. Abandoned projects, as Gracia, and young people in Ghana. What do you see to be the way forward?
First of all, I have to make a correction. My town is Asante Asokore, not Asokore Mampong. Asokore Mampong is my traditional brother's town.
Right.
Well, first of all, let's think of the young people. I think that is really where we should concentrate. Develop. What's all this in terms of development and what is the future for our young people? We can argue about constitutional review and so on and so on, but if the world could be simplified by just drafting a good constitution, that would be a very easy job. The development is challenging because even though we have growth, translating growth into improving the quality of living for our people, that's the most challenging thing. As a chief, I'm very much aware of that. When I go to my area, I see the standard of living, and so is a reminder of how much we have to go. So on this question of achieving higher standards of living, I think it's critical that we have a national approach to development reflected in a long-term policy in which contribution should be welcomed from all corners, people with talent, and people who will mobilize others to follow that. It's not only the leadership, it's the mobilization of the people to actually follow the new dictates of development. In this regard, we really have to look at our educational system. If you look at the educational system of the Asian countries, mathematics, special subjects in technology feature very prominently in the educational curriculum, not necessarily in universities alone, but also in technical institutes. And this idea of acquiring technology is something which has to be attacked seriously and by our own people. We can't rely on foreigners to come and provide us with food all the time. So only that can lead to the growth of the economy, the expansion of the economy, which will then absorb our many graduates from the various institutes, properly trained. So we really have to look at how we get, I agree with my colleague there, how we adhere our educational program to enhance our industrial or agricultural development so that our graduates from various institutions have a relevance in this area. And the Asian countries have done very well,
right,
and we should look at that. On the question of national approach, I'm all for an inclusive approach. Here we are. It is significant that we are having this ceremony in the Volta region. Let's all think of all parts of Ghana as belonging to Ghana, and let us have an inclusive and a national approach to development.
Right.
Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Dr. SKB Asante, for having joined the conversation. Dr. SKB Asante, of course, Paramount Chief Asante Asokore, a constitutional expert, if you want to say. He was one of those, in fact, chairing that committee to draft our 1992 Constitution, a statesman. Thank you so much, Nana, for having joined the conversation. Also joining the conversation, Kweku Dako Ankra, historian, Department of African Studies at the University of Ghana, Legon. And he says, from Kweku, happy birthday to my son, Yosi Bentum Gardener Ankra. Did I get the name right?
Yes, Yosi Bentum Gardener Ankra.
Yosi Bentum Gardener Ankra. A very happy birthday to you, and you have a wonderful father. God bless you and fashion you just as he has. Thank you for having joined the conversation. Well, we continue from here. We'll be crossing over again to Adaklu in the Volta region. But before we do that, we have Citizens microphone for you. And today we hit the streets of Kumasi. We're asking, what do you have to cheer about 66 years after independence? Are you a proud Ghanaian? That is the question we're posing as we cross over to the streets of Kumasi.
Live from Edum, Kumasi, it's 66 years of independence, total liberation from colonial rule. Today in our conversation, we're asking people generally, what do you think about Ghana as we attain 66 years of age? So I would be engaging with some few people here, and I'll find out from them what they make of Ghana, 66 years old Ghana. What do you think about Ghana? What is that thing that we still have to do? What are we not doing right? And what do you think we can do? Hello, Daddy. JoyNews. Ghana, 66 years, 66 years of independence. And generally about Ghana.
Openi media mi mo ba mi nsuo dia nka nton Ghana na ko bi anye share o se de Ghana nkoyi amamu na kasa nkoyi se panyin na kasa no pese ono no ase ono ase odi here busua abla so ebre so intime mi nya ya nka nton Ghana ko bi anye share fan ko bi anko abafunde so nka pepe
adenti na o pese ye ton Ghana
openi Ghana nkoyi
Eniema ben ye nunti Ghana nkoyi.
Yemu nkoyi. Isika se obi bi edum na nkoyi. So na mi mom dia kenton Ghana ko bi anya hye. Dibetima kan no.
Ba wo hwa obetimi abɔ niema ba ko mienu bi so a ɛwɔ sɛ ye hwɛ ne yetimi ye ne ye 66 years ni o.
66 years ni fine, we say next 66 years ni de. So eduma sem enye. Eduma sem na nkasa do fa nkoyi enye. Eduma sem enye. You know, I don't have so fair said. Could be a master to find me in Ghana. It would be any share, which I can't know.
So for him, he's saying that it is best that we sell Ghana, which is highly impossible because there is actual difficulty in the country. He is not actually happy with what is going on with the economy and everything. Let me engage this gentleman here. I'm 66 years,
Yeah.
Ghana is 66 years. What do you make of Ghana generally?
Okay, Ghana, I be by was here more. So, also here school cry in Yanuko. Obi was say, no school cry, me name some come and name some form 2, some form 1. A moon name baby or more. Into school, no young Hena, young Shishan ye. Patros Atmasi.
Aside school near there, the Nema Ben 66 years. Yata 16, Cabana, your pension. Nema Ben was it to me.
Yeah, your light. Your light, but say a surprise countries be light. Now, so yeah, light there. They be an hour off. It was a share hair light. Your hair light in your market in the
and only near my was it to me.
Your light, cause and Chebabas could do so. I also supply another country light. Now, the sumo no more than the light to me, the NSA. And say, be a more, you be here more equipment, I be my lights, no. So I improve video.
It is 66 years. We are okay with Niema yet me
actually. Okay,
okay, so for him, he is not okay with what we have achieved as a country. 66-year-old Ghana, he's not happy with what we have achieved. He's talking about our electricity crisis and other economic challenges. Let me find out from this man. Hello, Daddy. Welcome to JoyNews.
Fine afternoon.
What do you think about Ghana generally? We are 66 years of age, and then we've even passed retirement age. What do you think that are some of the things we need to do right? We need to do some of the things that we are not even doing. What do you think generally?
I think Ghana for the past 66 years, we have done a lot, and more needs to be done by the current government and the past government. We know they have done a lot,
and more needs to be done. But we shouldn't be putting blame on only the government and the politicians. We, the citizens of Ghana, need to also improve and advise and strategize our performances to reduce unemployment and loss of revenue to enable the country to forge ahead of development. Because of corruption, our revenue target or our revenue system in the country is not the best. That is one. And two, those investment which the past government has invested is not yielding any positive results to us. One is the Tema refinery. If you have a refinery and you are finding oil, why do you have to go somewhere and refine your oil to come and sell in the country? Do you think Nkrumah was foolish of setting up Tema refinery? He set up the Tema refinery that in future, if Ghana find oil, we shouldn't export oil and import finished products.
So Daddy, lastly, I want you to summarize it for us. What do you think we can do right as a country, 66 years of age?
The 66 years, no one is to tell you that Ghana has even retired because the retirement age is 60. So I'm appealing to both citizens, politicians, government, and management that the youth of today, the employment rate is high, so they should do their best to improve, to reduce the unemployment rate by creating various irrigation for the youth to go into farming, like the Kwalugu Dam. The Kwalugu Dam, for instance, can serve both 4 regions, Upper East, Upper West, Northeast, and Northern region.
All right,
and it doesn't cost for the government to do that, to reduce the unemployment rate in the 4 northern regions who ran into the southern sector for non-existing jobs.
Thank you very much. So he has mentioned a couple of things that we can do right as a country. 66 years of age, Ghana, he said we have passed the retirement age. So there are some things that we really need to do right. Of course, there's no doubt about that. Let me engage this lady over here. Young lady, 66 years of age, Ghana, we've attained independence. Since we attained independence, what do you make of Ghana, 66 years of age? What are the things that we should do right?
Everything. I think there is no job and I don't think we are improving, so I think they have to do better.
66 years, we are not doing anything well. Is that what you're trying to say?
Yeah.
What are some of the things that you think we can improve on, we can do right?
Everything in the country, because I think our leaders are not helping. I think they should do better. Yeah.
What are some of the things that you can pinpoint? You can point your fingers to. What are some of the things you think we can handle very well to improve our economy and then to also gain that glory of being 66 years of age?
I think our jobs, and there are certain communities and then areas that need schools, hospitals and stuff, so I think they should concentrate on that. Yeah.
So, talking of, you made mention of jobs. What of that? What is wrong with jobs?
Graduates are still home without jobs, so I think they should help them secure some jobs.
Okay, so she has also mentioned a couple of things that we can do right as a country. She made mention of jobs and other things. Let me engage this gentleman over here. Daddy, Memwako Baba JoyNews. Ghana is 66 years of age. And Yema Ben ya ye ni ye anase ye nye ni ye wo se ye bomodin ye anase ye to aso ye
enema wo se ye bomodin an ye wa hwe Ghana de bia enema du na say it's too much mama edin it's too much because ye share affair say twama nene mamu ye kakra but you say no man more edin too much I was saying for no share na mo tete masomaye say na ba 8 man for no so ye ho be high especially the drivers for crowd the rest with my judgment for an apart you be no this can to fuel who we are now the empty hand no the coffee oh yes a family man tin was saying for no mo share na mo tene masomaye na yensu so e wo timam no yesi hu se yensu ye if you ga mind go wa hanu say ya obi feel proud so o Ghana but an wuce ntino so la ultimate oh until the same pay for na say we make bomb de na mo tena masoma se na be ya yensu ye wo be here.
Okay, so he has also mentioned a couple of things. Actually, he's a driver, and he's saying that there are some things that we can do very well to also improve our economy and then live to the fullest. I found this driver here with me, and let me interact with him and find out from him. 66 years of age, Daddy. Ghana, yenya independent, 66 years in here, free colonial room. What do you make of Ghana? Niema beni aye, what's it to us? Niema beni enye ni ye, what's it to me ni ye?
Oh, where the medasi? No ma ya de bebre ana say the city no. Ghana ehia no ma bebre if you say the medical kan school I say aban no etu hu anamon no ya de ehu hia because oman be kwaso a ni nyina free education say the oman no asi e ko nyina na education ni ye kase a betimi abo oman na ma oman so atu empon.
It's yes, aside education, nema ben ye ya eye, and a day in crown ye ya. What's the timidity and free kakra?
Si say, and no man, ya, and say, school no more corner ye by I say, si say no, okwa, tamo mode, a befi no a short term no edunti, yes, abana say, obey me, I won't be swede, Eddie, am I?
Okay, so he is also saying he tackled education. For him, there are a lot of things that we need to do. There are a lot of things that government should improve upon so that as time goes on, we can also get the accolades of being one of the best countries in terms of gaining independence, 66 years of age. This is a live report from Kumasi, Edum to be specific. My name is Nana Dankwa. We are reporting on Ghana's attainment of independence, 66 years of age. What have we done as a country and your perspective? Live from Kumasi, Nana Dankwa again reporting for JoyNews.